Welcome to the Essex Selectboard meeting on
Recording
June 15th,
in progress.
2026. It is now 6:30, and I hereby call this meeting to order. As a reminder, if you are here in the room, please make sure you silence your cell phones. For those of us online, please note your microphones will be muted by default until recognized by the chair. This is a result of some bad actors in prior meetings. It is an attempt to prevent that from reoccurring. Also, please note that the chat function is disabled. I will move on to any additions or changes from staff.
A couple for staff. There is no item 7B that was supposed to be an interview for Jane Dunn for the Essex Free Library Board of Trustees. Ms. Dunn's not available tonight, so she's hoping to attend on the June 29th meeting instead. She had something come up. Also 7L, discussion about pending or probable civil litigation or prosecution, if that could be discussion and potential action. And lastly, not an agenda change, but at your seat there is a application form that goes with item 7E, Mr. Paul Boney's application to serve as representative to Green Mountain Transit.
Thank you, Greg. Coming to the board, any additions and changes to the agenda? Does anyone want to approve the staff changes? Andy.
I make the motion that that we accept the recommended agenda changes from staff.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of amending the agenda as the staff laid out, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. We have an approved agenda. Moving on to public to be heard. This is an opportunity for members of the public to come forth and speak about items that are not on the agenda or that are on the consent agenda. Please note, we expect you to be civil. Please be brief. As a general rule, any comments longer than a few minutes represent a need to have a deeper conversation either by email, setting up a meeting, or being added to a future agenda. Please refrain from side conversations. Please be respectful of staff and those speaking. Please direct all your comments to the chair. And when called upon by the chair, please state your name and residence for the record. We'll start with people in the room. Is there anybody that wants to come forth and speak during public comment? Not seeing any hands. I see one hand. Yes, please. Thank you. Grab a seat right there. Yep, one of the mics. There's a microphone right in front of you. Perfect.
Thank you. My name is Heidi Swevens, and I'm a resident of Essex Junction, and I sublet office space in Essex Center in the 21 Carmichael Street. And I'm just here to share my concerns about the bus 4 route, the Route 4 bus being eliminated. I've recently read a couple articles in the Essex Reporter, and certainly I use the bus, I use the paratransit service, so SSTA from that. So this change will impact me individually. But what really called me to want to speak is reading in one of the reports that there's 78, I think it was termed unique riders that use the paratransit service. And to me, those are, I know people need to code things to count, but they're people that I've ridden with on shared van rides, many of them are seniors and older adults. And public transportation is such an important part of communities. It's a bridge for individuals to get to places like the doctor, but also places that a whole person might want to visit, like the bank and the cinema and the grocery store and friends and family. And so April, I saw there was public comments. I didn't see it till after. I'm really just trying to stay afloat. The place I worked for 13 years closed last summer, so now I'm in self-employment, and this feels really vulnerable. But anyway, I decided to speak at the Essex Junction City Council meeting because I thought at one point I felt pretty helpless and like my voice didn't matter, and that really bothered me because I don't want to be part of communities where voices are not important. And so I decided to go there and wanted to come here just because transportation is so important. However it works out, I know that it's, the train may have already left the station, but I just wanted to say that it feels really important, not just to me, but to individuals, and then by network and the way that communities work, families and communities. People need people, and we need to get places to be involved. So thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Any other public comment in the room? Greg, are there any hands online?
No, nothing online.
No hands online? We will move on. This is the point where we're going to have a public hearing. Can I get a motion from the board to open the hearing? Andy?
Move that we open a public hearing to close out Vermont Community Development Program grant for recovery housing in Fort Ethan Allen.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Meg. All those in favor of opening the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is open. Hearing is open, motion carries. And I will turn the floor to Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Demetrowitz. I'm with the Champlain Housing Trust, and with me here tonight is Andrew Gagne from the Vermont Foundations of Recovery. Thank you for holding this public hearing. It's a requirement of the grant, but really we're here to celebrate the completion of a successful project that the town supported by sponsoring a Vermont Community Development Program grant. This is the required hearing to close out that grant, which is exciting that we're finally complete and ready to close this out. The project is at Fort Ethan Allen. We partnered with V4, Vermont Foundations of Recovery, to provide recovery housing at Fort Ethan Allen. It's buildings 1005, 1006, and 1007 Ethan Allen Avenue that the Champlain Housing Trust purchased. And with help with the funds from the VCDP, we were able to convert those buildings, those existing beautiful historic brick buildings, into 4 6-bedroom recovery homes and 4 2-bedroom transitional apartments. It's been a great project. We actually started this project and received the VCDP approval back in 2021. So it has been a long road. We have been able to allow V4 to occupy the buildings since 2022, but the cost estimates came in over budget. We were able to slowly get other financing together and start construction in earnest in 2024, and we completed last fall. We were able to keep folks in place by keeping one building vacant, do the renovations on that building, and then have folks move over, and then they work on their newly vacated building. So it was a bit of a hopscotch kind of game, and we have a great partnership with V4, and we were able to make that work. We made some great improvements to the building. We made the buildings more accessible to folks with disabilities. We upgraded the electrical systems throughout the building. We made some layout changes to make it work for the program that Andrew's going to talk about, the V4 Recovery Home programs. We installed new bathrooms, new kitchens. The buildings are in really great condition. We also had specifically set aside some money to make an upgrade to the stormwater system. So we had a failed pipe that we were able to replace with the funding as well. So it's been a great project. I'm going to turn it over to Andrew to talk a little bit about what recovery housing is and what this project has meant for V4.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and we really do appreciate everything in the work that's been done. About 2021, we were serving about 16 people at the time, and then when we got to the fort up until now, we're serving 30. And from 2021 to now, we've actually served about 200 people. And in the last beginning of this year to now, the people that have moved on, 77% of them reported stable housing. You know, we have a really great relationship with CHT, so when they're ready to move on, they have that. Recovery housing is super important. It's this group living and people coming together with a shared purpose, which is recovery. They hold each other accountable, and then we are there to help with some of the tough stuff and also help scaffolding, as they're working towards whatever their personal goals are. So we do have staff there. They don't live there, but they are a part of the process. We have things called like house meetings. That's when we come together, have a house meal, and discuss, things that are kind of coming up as a whole. So we have this kind of structured recovery housing, and then the next stage is the transitional apartments. So when they've gotten into a certain stage of their recovery, and gotten unemployment and really stable, they can access to the transitional apartments, which is, a 2-bedroom apartment with another person. And so we still oversee them and do things to help guide them, but they have a lot of less structure, and they're able to do things like put bills in their names and, who's going to pay what and how they're going to clean. And so a lot of the stuff that they learn in the recovery home, they get to then use into the transitional apartment and really try it out before they're completely on their own. So it's a really good process. It's been fun to be a part of, and being able to serve more people in this community and was a goal of ours, and we're really happy about it.
So that's sort of the quick final summary of how the program worked and the project came together. We really appreciate the support. The project wouldn't have been able to happen without the support of the Select Board, and I can't remember if any of you all were there back in 2021. It was a bit controversial back then, and it was a lot for you all to make that decision to support the grant. And I hope that you can be proud of that, because I think it's an extremely successful program and a great property. So open to any questions, other public, I know we've got some folks here to make some public comment as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for coming and joining us. I'll turn it to the board. Any questions or comments? Meg.
Just a comment, I was just encouraged to see such high numbers transition to permanent housing. That was really exciting to see. I'm just curious, as the program goes, how to kind of continue to increase that number, if you've thought about that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're actually the 2025 is our goal is to work a lot on the front end of people coming in and also on the back end, which is the back end stuff is like, really getting them prepared and getting on housing lists and like really working with landlords, like, whenever, so if they're planning on to stay with us for like 6 months, that we might start the process in 2 months, like working with all the different individuals, whether it's CHT or other landlords that we work with, so we can increase that number and really set them up for success. We're also hoping that, because not everything always works out as planned, as life is, that whenever they're ready to move on, if they plan for 6 months but it ended up being 3 months, that we have some kind of plan where they are getting into permanent housing.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. Kendall?
Do you see any opportunity for any further projects like this?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like Amy said, that we have such a great relationship and it's working so well that, we want to continue to do this and grow and serve as many people as we can.
We actually have a project now up in St. Albans. And I know V4 is talking with our partners or our sister organization down in Addison County as well. And we're there to sort of provide some technical advice as well, because we've been through it and it's been such a great success.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, before we open up to public comment, I just want to thank you. It's very important we have this in our community, and it takes a lot of work on both the front side, the back side, and the middle of it. And I appreciate everything you've done to add this to our community. We'll open up for public comment. You're welcome to, I'm sure there might
we
be
stay here
questions
or-
directed at you,
Yeah,
and we'll see.
yeah.
Anyone want to come forward and speak? Perfect. Just make sure you state your name and where you live.
Okay. My name is Ashley Brown, and I just recently moved to Colchester, but I was a member of V4. I just moved out, not this past week, but the week before. A little bit about before I got into V4. I mean, I struggled with my addiction for in and out for 17 years. I had time in prison and jail. I mean, I was one of those people that you see downtown, and I just didn't see a way out. And I went to treatment, and while I was there, I was offered a spot at V4, and I knew, and so I took that opportunity. And V4 has been the game. The thing that helped me the most, I needed some place to feel safe and, secure and supported. And that's all I've gotten from V4. And I literally wouldn't be where I am today without them. I mean, I have a career. I started school to become an electrician, and I've been doing that. My parents were here just this past weekend from Florida to visit me because I'm sober, and but also I was with all the girls, and then I made it to where I was able to be a little more independent. I moved into the transitional housing, and like Andrew said, it's like I was able to like start paying for my electricity by myself and split it with my roommate, something I've never done on my own. And it's really like helped me to where I am now. And now I have a place through Champlain Housing Trust, and I have my own apartment. And it's just like, I just couldn't have done it without V4 and what they have going on. I'm just so grateful. So also thanks to the town of Essex for helping with all that, because I wouldn't be where I am today. So I just wanted to thank you all.
Thank you. Yes, please come forward.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Nicholas Miserandino, and my story is
Where do you live?
I live at 1006 Ethan Allen Avenue, so I live in a transitional apartment right now. My story is similar to Ashley's, but there are differences. Basically, to sum it up, 2 years ago, I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I was in active addiction, and I didn't know where to go. You know what I mean? I didn't have my kids. I was lost, so I applied for membership at V4, and they accepted me, and I went through the program. I followed the policies. I got a job. I did what I had to do, and shortly, like after 6 months or so of being in the men's home, they offered me a transitional apartment, and yeah, I took it. I was excited to take it, but it came to a point where I wanted to move out of the transitional, and it was due to my children. I have 2 boys. I have a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old, and they needed me back. And I was at a point where it was either I was to move out on my own and get a place, or ask V4 if I can have my children at the transitional apartment. And surprisingly, both my sons are allowed to come. So as of right now, I have both my sons back in my life full time. They both go to school here in Essex. One's at Essex High School. The other's at Essex Middle School. They're doing great. I'm employable. I'm a foreman at a construction company. Things are great. And it really all comes down to me just, being a member at V4 and doing what I had to do. And I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for V4 and CHT. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Yes, please.
Yes, that's our proposal. That's our presentation. I wanted to say that one of the reasons that the project was successful in getting funding was exactly what you were talking about: the ability for transitional housing to allow parents to reunite with their kids. So I was really excited to hear that story too. Yeah,
That's excellent.
we're all
Greg, are there
set.
any hands online?
No.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much.
Thanks.
Can I get a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you, Kendall. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Meg. All in favor of closing the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing is closed. Thank you again. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Yeah. I move we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Meg. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Andy. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Move on to business item 7A, interview with Carolyn Ashley for the Essex Free Library Board of Trustees. Is Ashley online?
She is.
Hi, yes, I should be here. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Hi, let me just undo my camera here.
Carolyn, we actually don't allow video based on some of the bad actors that Shannon had mentioned earlier. We turned that
I know.
ability off, so sorry about that.
That's okay. Um,
Caricature, that'll work for now.
I don't know why it's not undoing, but
The permissions will allow for it to happen because of the
Oh.
situations we dealt in the past, so,
oh, okay. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's fine. So the floor is yours. Welcome. We'd love to hear a little about yourself and why you want to join the Essex Free Library Board of Trustees.
Okay, thank you. First off, I want to thank those two for sharing their poignant stories. That was what a great way to start a meeting. I'm Caroline Ashley, and I've lived on Sunset Drive in Essex for about 35 years. I have served on a couple of committees. I'm currently on the Cemetery Commission. I also work on the Parade Committee every year. I guess I'm interested in doing more of my civic duties now that I'm retired full-time, and a little bit of a history buff, so the library is definitely something near and dear to my heart. I think it's a very important part of our community, and I want to keep it vibrant, and I feel like I have still quite a bit to add. I have 30 years as a bank operations manager, so I have a lot of value I want to give back. So that's my spiel.
Well, we really appreciate you applying. I'll turn it to the board for questions for you.
I'll go.
Meg.
Thank you, Caroline, for your interest in the position. I'm curious, do you have any kind of ideas or programs, anything that you'd like to see the library do? Maybe kind of what you most would look forward to serve on the board?
Yeah, I've been through a lot of the agendas from this year. It looks to be all the programs they have are great. I enjoy participating in a lot of what they have going on. I think my first few meetings I will learn and listen and see where the opportunities are. I'm pretty resourceful as far as being able to spot the gaps. Being in operations for 30 years, it comes back to you pretty quick. So I guess just keeping it current and vibrant and interesting for our younger folks. I think that's really important. And continuing some of those summer programs that are really important for the EMS and founders kids and elementary school too. So I guess not going in with notions that I'm going to change anything, but more to learn how I can add value to what's going on now.
Andy.
Yeah. Hi, Caroline.
Hi.
Question about, are you aware that there's a parallel organization that's it's a separate 501c3 called the Friends of the Essex Free Library? And have you looked into what they do versus what the trustees do? And do you have I guess, thoughts about which or what each of those organizations have to offer?
I read a little bit about it, Andy, but I'm not completely, I guess, familiar with the difference.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Kendall?
I would be curious what the most valuable skill you have learned from the Cemetery Commission has been and how you would apply that as a library trustee.
Yeah, it's been great to, I guess, understand the workings a little bit more of the town office and how the budget works and how we play a role in making those requests and where the money comes from. So as I get my feet wet, I guess, with the cemetery commission, I think that that will add value to the role as a trustee, being able to really, spot possibly where we can save or where we're spending too much. So I think the budgetary piece and more operations, and obviously the cemetery, it kind of takes care of itself, I guess, a little bit. We've done a lot this year there, but so I guess budgeting, finance, and I wrote a lot of policy procedures in my position, so I'm always interested to see how we can improve on that too. So I guess those would transition over.
Okay, the other question I had was that occasionally conflicts will arise on the board between your opinions and others, and have you had any experience with that, and how would you handle that?
Yeah, I think that's the most interesting part, and I think that's why I like to serve on these types of boards, because I really respect others' opinions, and I think it's having them think of things that I wouldn't is most, the important part. And I think talking it through with the rest of the committee and figuring out what's best for for the town and for the library or for the cemetery or whatever you're applying it to. I have a very open mind, and I've never had a real, problem, like a vehement problem with anyone opinions or ideas. I welcome them.
Awesome, thank you.
Welcome.
Excellent. My only question for you is, I really appreciate, first off, all the service you do for the town, both here in the town as well as on the parade committee in the junction. Do you feel you have enough time to give it your all? I know you mentioned you recently retired, but do you feel you can spread yourself equally amongst those endeavors?
Yeah, I do. The things you take on, from the meetings usually aren't all encompassing. So I do feel, and the parade is only, it's 2 months of craziness. But other than that, we it's pretty self-sufficient now. We've put in a lot of real improvements. With the websites all automated now. So we just need more volunteers, as all committees do. And part of the reason why I do this is because I know that there's not enough help. So yeah, no, I think I'd be fine with that. Yeah, I'm pretty efficient.
Wonderful. Do you have any questions for the board?
I guess just, in what you've seen going, is there anything that you have a concern with or would like to see happen more with the library? Because I know, we're part of the improvement plan is building a new library, and we've done, well, they did a new front door, and I saw they're looking for automated door in the back. But I mean, do you guys get any feedback of things that need to be done?
Fellow board, I have an answer, but Andy, I'm sure you have thoughts.
Well, I guess the response to that is that the trustees run the library,
Yeah.
and the select board only sets the budget, and so we don't really, if concerns or interest from folks came to us, we would have to defer that to the trustees, because statutorily the trustees run the library.
Yeah.
And that the big thing coming up is the possibility of building a new library. Yeah.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that, and I would just add that I have a lot of confidence in the staff there. Caitlin does an excellent job, and I think that the dual entities that run the library are very innovative. I loved what they did last year with the study about ADA accessibility and the solutions they're finding. When they come forward, I'm always impressed with the thoroughness of their plans and proposals, and hopefully we can make those incremental changes to better improve our library.
Great.
Anything else on your end?
No, no.
Well, we will be making those decisions about appointments this evening in executive session, and then announcing them. The staff will be in touch with you after this meeting. We really appreciate you applying, and you are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you can log off and go about your busy life.
Okay.
But thank you for your time, and thank you for applying.
Yeah, thank you for all you guys do too.
With that, I'll jump to business item 7C, interview with a volunteer to serve on the Planning Commission, Jonathan Shoemaker. Schumacher, my apologies.
No problem. I've been doing that all my life.
Well, welcome. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. My name's John Schumacher. Most people call me Shu, including my wife, so you'd be okay if you did that. I grew up in Essex through the school system. We bought a house here in Essex in 2001. Been living here ever since. I've served on the Planning Commission previously since 2011. So been there for a while, and I guess I don't really have much more to say as an introduction, but you're welcome to ask whatever questions, fill in the blanks that I didn't put forth.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your past service, as well as applying again. I'll turn to my fellow board members. Meg.
So thank you for serving. Two questions. One, what has been the most rewarding thing about being on the Planning Commission, and then on the flip side, what's maybe been the biggest challenge?
Well, the reward really is, the reason I joined the Planning Commission in the first place was I wanted to, have some kind of civic participation in the town. And this was the best way I could see to do it. So the reward really is to see that, we can, make a difference in some ways by taking the town plan and turning it into the proper regulations to see to move the town vision into the regulations. That's it seems kind of dry, but it is rewarding to see that happens, that the regulations can reflect the town plan.
Sure.
The challenges are always, there's many. Probably the biggest one is that if you're going to be on the Planning Commission, and probably most boards, if you are there to do a popularity contest, you're going to fail. So that's probably the biggest disappointment, is usually 50% of the time nobody likes you, and the other 50% of the time everybody likes you. So that's a little bit disappointing if you have a weak spirit, which I used to, but I don't now, so I don't really care all that much anymore. What's more important is, trying to make sure that the regulations work for the town.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Further questions for Shu?
Well done.
Kendall?
I would just say I find it personally distressing that half the town doesn't like you and the rest don't like you, when it's such a vital position that you have. I think you have the hardest position in town in the Planning Commission.
I think that's
I'd be curious to
interrupt.
how you handle that conflict on a board level.
It's difficult at times, for sure. One of the things that happens is that usually in any sort of contested thing, half the people want it to go one way and half want to go the other. That's the public opinion. And so that's difficult. But at the end of the day, the most important thing, again, is to make sure that we're trying to plan the town according to the town plan, right? We're trying to build the regulations and all the various things that you can do so that it works. So I guess the answer to your question is, how do I deal with that? I have to kind of just put it away. I used to really bother me, to the point where I almost left the Planning Commission at one point. But I decided that there's a bigger purpose that sort of underlies all of that. And yeah, people can be angry or want things to go a certain way, and they won't go their way. That's just how it is.
Thank you.
Yep. That feels feels kind of negative. There are a lot of we do have a great time and do good things. Yeah. So there's a lot of positivity too.
Could you speak to what you consider the most positive thing that you've done during your tenure?
I don't know. I'd say it's, just sort of battling before the charter change and the planning commission was also the DRB basically. We were also, doing applications. So probably the thing that's most rewarding is to know that at the end of an application, whether we've approved it or not, that we did the right thing. And that's rewarding. And it's good to feel confident about that, even though a few people might be upset. We did the right thing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Great. My only question for you is, having served on it prior to the split with the DRB and different things, why did you choose the planning side of things?
Probably for some of the reasons that I just outlined. Felt like a lot of the conflict fell during applications, and more of the positive stuff was done during planning. So a lot of, being just on the planning commission and not on the DRB is actually sort of nice, because we can just focus on trying to move forward and try to provide, good guidance for the DRB to do their job. So that just, I don't know, that just feels better to me. So it was worth staying with it and going to the planning commission. I will say that I just have to make this one comment, that some of the derision that occurred during the charter change and when we split from the junction, some of the derision against some planning commission members and some of the things that happened was very disappointing. I hope that never happens again. That was from both members of the town and some of the people on the select board. That didn't feel good. It felt ugly. So I would encourage the select board to be supportive of your planning commissioners, and if you don't like what they're doing, you got to remove them, as opposed to making them feel bad.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate that. I really appreciate your service. Do you have any questions for the board?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, as I just said to our past interviewee, we'll make the decisions this evening, and we'll be notifying you in the coming days. And thank you again for reapplying.
No problem. I do want to say that the presentation about the V4 was really awesome. You guys can get opportunities to do more of that kind of stuff for the community. That's awesome.
I agree.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. That will bring us to 7D, interview with a volunteer to serve on the Conservation and Trails Committee, Bart Betchard. If I messed up your last name, I apologize.
It's okay. It's French. Bart Béchard is my name. And I'm a resident of Essex Town. I have twin 10-year-olds at Founders and live very close to the Forestdale trails and use them very regularly, as well as Saxon Hill and Indian Brook. I am on the I'm a trail steward for a couple of trail sections, and I've worked with Hans Nettie on signing the trails at Matthew Town Forest, and that's been really cool to watch that coming into its own and having it well marked. So what interests me in this role is, well, he brought it to my attention, and I really want to impact how we utilize our natural spaces in this town. We have such beautiful resources that people had the foresight of conserving, and I want to see that go forward. Also really interested in the Keystone trail networking vision, and seeing that happens in really making it a really livable and walkable city. I think it really adds a lot to the community.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being one of our new stewards. That's excellent.
Yeah,
I'll turn it to
it's
the
a lot
board.
of fun.
Questions for Bart? Yes.
So thank you for being a trail steward. I'm just curious what you would kind of most look forward to. Maybe an idea or two of what you'd be, looking to do as a part of the committee.
Yeah, so my vision is to bring more people into contact with our natural resources. I feel like I love how pristine they are, and do feel that they're underutilized at times. I'll be out walking for a long time and never encounter anyone, and it's just amazing that, I don't know if people just aren't aware, they aren't brought to their attention, but the better signage is certainly helping with that, I think, and people will be afraid of getting lost, especially in the town forest, at Matthew Town Forest. Yeah, I just have a vision of having bike paths around town, like along the Cirque, that I would certainly use, and I know lots of other folks would as well. I mean, River Road is terrible, and it would be for cyclists and walkers. So to be able to go up the Cirque and actually not go on roads, it would be amazing. So I would love to have some input in that process.
Excellent. Further questions?
Any other questions?
Kendall?
I see that you've served on the board of your HOA.
Yeah.
And you've had some conflict resolution that has come up. Could you just speak to how you've approached that when you've had disagreements on the board?
Sure. One example is in the landscape maintenance crew that we were using. There were folks who wanted to stick with the tried and true that we had used for years, but weren't doing a great job, and we were looking to move to some other folks who were just a little bit more expensive, and it would have to raise the HOA fee just a little bit. And there was some dissension in voting for the budget because of that reason. It ultimately went through when it was made clear that the services were that much better, and people are happy with that now, and it's resolved. And one of the chief opponents of it ultimately came around, and now he's become the president of the HOA. And so now he can live with those conflicts, but it was a good experience, and I learned a lot.
Great. I would also ask, are you familiar with the mission statement of the Trails Committee, and have you read that?
I've read it, but I can't recall details of it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kendall. Andy?
So Bart, wondering if you could share some words about, or some comments about what the word community means to you.
Community to me means mutual support system, neighbors and near neighbors, where in situations like a flood, which impacts us all, we already feel we've had good interactions, just out and about, do community activities that engender good feelings. Just knowing that if you're in need, there's always someone there to support you, and that there are businesses that you want to see succeed. That makes for a strong community. It's always really exciting to me when I see a new business come into town, and I make an effort to support them versus a chain. And because it's giving back to the community, it's providing employment, it just makes everything more livable. I think it's important for a community to have sort of a good core where people can walk places, park and walk, and do a little bit of shopping, get some food, and bump into people that they may know, that sort of thing. So there's a lot in community, and I could go on, but that's a bit of what I think about it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
My question for you,
Yeah.
yeah, full disclosure, I used to serve on the committee and I loved the experience. I'm glad to hear that you've worked with Hans to jump into the revival of the steward program.
Yeah.
I hear a lot about trails, and I always think it's important to also think about the other side of the responsibilities of that committee, which is conservation.
Yes.
Can you share some thoughts about how you could, tackle that work with the committee?
Yeah, I'd certainly like to learn more about that in terms of what the goals are, but I think it's really important to conserve in a sustainable way our existing resources like Indian Brook, maintaining the forest, trying to keep invasive plants at bay, and preventing erosion. That's super important. And I may be leading a walk at Indian Brook in August, and I'm just trying to get people to connect with the plant and animal life that's so abundant there, and so many people don't even. I mean, I grew up in Jericho, and I didn't know about it, and yeah, it's just incredible, and I want people to know what great resources we have and how we've given so much thought into how to best use our lands, like Saxon Hill, as well as I'm out there trail running all the time, and I'm just gobsmacked by how amazing it is. So yeah, that's a little bit of my thought there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for the board?
I don't think.
Well, I appreciate you applying, as
Yeah,
you heard.
thanks,
We'll be
Shannon.
making our decisions tonight. We'll get the staff will inform you later this week and the coming days about the appointments. And I appreciate you applying. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
All right, thank you all. Appreciate it.
That will take us to business item 7E, interview and possible appointment. Interview and possibly appoint a volunteer to serve on the Green Mountain Transit representative for Essex, Paul Boney.
I don't see Paul online.
He's not online? Okay. Well, we'll
I also
possibly
don't
come
see
back to
Jeff.
it. Okay, you don't see Jeff either. No Jeff in the room. Okay. Then we will, if you do see them pop up online, we'll
Absolutely.
circle back to it. That will bring us to business item 7G. Consider approval to enter into a contract for permitting software. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Has everyone met Brittany yet?
Nope.
Brittany is our planning technician. You were hired as the admin assistant in ComDev about 2 years ago
Yeah, about 2.5. Yep.
and became full-time about a year ago when the select board approved that change in the budget. And so Brittany's been a great addition and here to talk to you about permitting software.
Yeah. So as you'll see in your packet, there's a memo, and basically just kind of summarize it. January of this year, you made the decision to dedicate $75,000 to explore permitting software. So that's something that we went out and we did. Reached out to other local towns in Chittenden County just to see kind of who was doing what, got some feedback from them, and then reached out to 5 different companies to see what they offered. They all did demonstrations. Karen sat in with us. Catherine Sonic, our community development director, sat in as well. And it kind of, we reached the point where they were all kind of starting to sound the same. They all offered a lot of the same things. They all said you can have unlimited users. We're all cloud-based, unlimited storage. And we're like, okay, that's great, wonderful. Kind of narrowed down in on the idea that we have a lot of community members who want to know what's going on. And several of them offered options where it would be a listing of permits. Some had maps where you could click on the maps. You could kind of say, I live here. Let's see what's going on in my area. And that really kind of narrowed us in on GovWell. They are a great company that has a very interactive map. So we really liked that feature. That would be something that people could see what was going on. They also have some great integration of AI. They would have, if if you submitted an application, it would do a kind of quick search against our zoning regulations and say, yep, looks good, or flag different things. This would be something that then we could use for larger development review. If it was something that was even public works specifications, it would flag if there was issues that then we could put human eyes on it instead of just, we're not going to rely completely on AI, but if it gets us past that first stage, it would genuinely help. So as you'll see in the memo, kind of broke down the different ones that we've been looking at, but GovWell is the recommendation. They will also cover, so kind of just the rundown, they'll do permits, which we do, hold numbers today. We do approximately 200 permits a year. We could do the zoning compliance certificates, which we did last year, 167 of those. It would also do DRB applications, which I estimated about 30 to 40 applications a year. And also the permits, while it may be just a simple building permit, a lot of times it's also a water application, a sewer application, a curb cut. So there's multiple papers that right now all come in paper form. We have to process them that way. And also there is a module that would allow for dog licensing. So there would be, I asked the town clerks, they said about 800 to 1,000 dog licenses a year too, that it would cover. So a lot of different things that come through. So yeah, so went through there, and we are looking at GovWell. They are not the least expensive or the most expensive. They're kind of right around in the middle. The setup cost would be $13,000. The annual subscription fee would be $27,000 a year, and it would be a 2-year contract. And they are currently offering us a $5,000 discount on the initial setup cost as well if we make the decision kind of the next week or two. Yeah, kind of one of those, make your decision quick. But I guess it's kind of where we are. I don't know if you had any questions specifically on the memo.
Well, thank you so much for the great information. I'll turn it to the board. Any questions? Yes, Meg. Or, sorry, Kendall. Meg.
Sorry. I just wanted to confirm that the licenses, we do not pay per user, correct? It
Correct,
covers
it's
anyone
unlimited
on
users.
house staff.
Yep.
Okay. And then is the animal licensing a separate cost? You mentioned there was
Yes.
like a module. Okay.
Yep, so each one is a module. So there's a building permits and inspections, which would be all of our permits, all of our, actually didn't even mention certificate of occupancy, so we do all of those as well. There's planning and zoning, which would be development review. There was a code enforcement module, which we decided not to take.
Okay.
Animal licensing, and then there's the AI feature, which allows for the community to ask questions. So it's something that we can actually put on our landing page, and it pulls the information directly from whatever we feed. So it can be our zoning regulations, it can be public works specifications, it can be just our website. So they could say, what are the hours of Sandhill Pool, and it'll spit it back out to them. So really useful information.
And those are all separate.
They
Like,
are. So we could
okay.
start off with smaller ones and add in, or we could just do kind of the whole thing all at once. I think the only one that we would potentially add in later would be animal licensing, but the town clerk sounds like they want it now, so
Okay.
it's kind of one of those just,
And the subscription fee that was quoted in the memo, that
Mm-hmm.
includes the permitting, basically everything that you guys
Correct.
decided you wanted, except for the dog licensing?
nope, that includes
includes
dog
it, okay.
licensing as well.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Kendall.
So just a little clarification, that cost includes all the modules?
Yes.
It does, okay.
The only module it does not include is the code enforcement, because we really didn't feel that we needed it. But the 27 is the building permits, planning, zoning, animal licensing, and then the AI.
Oh, wow. Could you expand a little bit more? It says it provides staff support for both staff and residents. What kind of support
Yep.
is that? I mean, is it all online? Will you be able to do all the permit right online with help from the chatbot?
Yes, so it's all online. It would have support if you, as just your average resident, sat down on the computer, logged in, and got stuck. You could ask them and say, this application isn't working, I'm having issues. The questions will go to them. They will answer those questions for us, so we don't have to worry about answering if there's technical issues. They deal with all of that. We also have support for staff, whether it's we have a new employee and we need to train them, we're having an issue and we need help, or we need a new form to be created, something like that. They help with all of that. And that was something actually I reached out to other towns to get their feedback. And one of the towns I spoke to said that the previous software company they had used was very hands-on through the implementation. And then once they were done, they kind of just stepped back. And they said that GovWell has been hands-on the entire time. They've had them for several years, and they have been just as high-level service as day one. So really highly recommended of their support. And definitely granted, he's the salesman, but the salesman that I've been working with has been very good. He's been great about communicating, just kind of touching base. They've been great to work with so far.
Sounds like the town of Essex is going to get its first AI employee.
Yeah.
Andy?
I don't know if the question's for you or for these guys over here. With our charter change that allows us to assess fees, can we pass the animal module on to our dog license fees?
I think we could certainly allocate the cost to the clerk's office, and then we could probably have to do some research to figure out, I don't remember how much exactly the dog licensing, 4,000. So, yeah, we're probably generating about that much in dog licensing anyways, I think.
Yeah.
So we could code the expense to the clerk's office. Dog licensing would likely offset that expense. And
Okay,
so we can also take a look at, should we
Look at
adjust
do we need to add something to cover it? Yeah, because fees are supposed to cover our costs, right? And so, but I guess then if it's less work, then it's offsetting other work. Gotcha. Okay, so it could be a trade. Okay. Okay.
Would you mind if I comment? Just on the staff support side, Kendall. So right now, as you might imagine, Aaron and his crew as Public Works, they have their comments. Charlie and the fire, they have their comments. All of those comments need to get to the applicant, which is a big part of Brittany's job. Offloading that to a software that has automated reminders, where someone else is responsible for collecting and managing that portfolio, not Brittany, will free up a lot of her time, which is great. Just as one example, there's an opportunity through this software to then have all that generated in a letter to the applicant that says, here's all the things that you need to do. I'm sure we can work on customizing it to reference correct sections and other things. So that's an exciting improvement. And then on the clerk side, there's also things like automatic like you can have it set to send reminders to folks. Hey, your rabies certificate has expired. Please email us a new one. That's sort of a manual process now. We have to make a physical copy, and so there's a lot of improvements on the staff support side. I think that sort of just automate a lot of manual processes now. So I know Brittany's excited.
You'll be able to send that information right out to residents through email, pretty much. Or?
On the dog licensing side?
Yeah, like the rabies reminders and things like that.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I thought you were talking about on the community development side, where my understanding is all applications will be available on a public dashboard. So if you're interested, anyone can come see what's on the next DRB agenda or past agendas. I don't have the in-depth knowledge that Brittany does, but it's a real improvement in the transparency of development review and what's happening in the community.
Okay, just to follow up on Andy's note, will this be split across the departments cost-wise, or will this come out of one department, pretty much?
I would envision most of it being with community development, but if we move ahead with the dog licensing component, coding that or expensing that to the clerk's office.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Andy?
You just triggered another thought in my brain, sorry, about when you said the automatic notifications. I know one of the problems we have with our open lands contracts is that the folks that we have the contracts with are supposed to renew them when they expire, and they don't tend to, so we have to, somebody here has to keep track of it. So just a reminder that might be something that could go in there as well. And so then they've been notified, and if they don't respond, then it's, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, cool, thanks. I like it.
Meg?
Just a question. Will this integrate with, because you mentioned about being able to see current agendas and what applications are on the docket for the DRB? Does it integrate with our current agenda software at all?
No,
Is there a
it's
need for it?
gonna be separate. They really are kind of separate enough that I think it would be fine
Okay.
having the two not integrate into
Okay.
each other. I feel like the DRB applications, while we do get a fair number, are not anywhere near our, day-to-day workload of permits and,
Right.
The zoning compliance and things like that, that they're just
Okay.
quick little things. I think those just have more work and more kind of touch points to them, where it's fine that they're not fully integrated in for packets and things like that.
Okay.
I'll just jump in unless the other board members have further questions. I appreciate you getting multiple, usually it's only 3 quotes we see, but seeing 5, it's very clear you've done your homework on this. You mentioned in passing that you talked to other towns that had used this software. Are there ones around us that have done it, or were these nationwide, or how did you go about that?
So the contact at GovWell sent me kind of several towns that were in the area. So I tried to really focus on New England, and I tried to focus on towns that were a similar size. So I actually ended up speaking to a couple towns in Maine, but they had kind of figured they were a similar demographic to us, and again, same size, and they all had very positive things to say. Some of them actually had some good tips of ways to integrate the software in. Like one of them said to print a QR code on a little business card, so if people come and say, hey, can I get an application, you can hand them the card. So they had little tips and things like that, but it's just nice to talk with them and hear what worked well. They had a couple things that they didn't love, but it was all things that were kind of very particular to their situation. So
Sure. Well, thank you. We'll open it for public comment. Any hands in the room? Not seeing any. Any hands online?
Sharon Zakowski?
Sharon, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just have a couple of questions. One, I was wondering why, granted its staff is going to use this, whatever, why this wasn't run by the Development Review Board to like sort of go over this, like what we would want out of this. And the other 2 questions is, did we speak to like an IT person to make sure that this would coordinate well with the website and everything? And then the third question is why we wouldn't want code enforcement as part of this software, because I think that would be really neat that if that's how it works when we approve things, that we are making sure that we're enforcing the conditions that we've imposed. And that's it.
okay, going to go a little out of order. So yes, we did
Oh, fine.
we had our director of IT meet with the company as well, ask questions and make sure that he was comfortable with everything. And he said they passed with flying colors. He was happy. There was another part to that, but I totally forgot what it was. So why we didn't have the DRB review it is that it really isn't going to change what the DRB sees at the end of the day. They're still going to get the same packet that they get. This is really how staff reviews the plans. I think a lot of times we'll get different development plans in. There'll be errors and things like that then will go back to the applicant. They'll make changes and they'll come back to us. So a lot of times those steps the DRB isn't even seeing. They're seeing the end product when everything is all perfect, all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and it's good to go. So it's really not going to affect them. So I think that was kind of the main reason why they weren't brought into the conversation. What was your third question, Sharon?
Well, can I make a comment on that? And then I'll just try to rush. So that's good. That means that, like, because we get a lot of incomplete applications, and then we have to continue the meeting over and over again. So this will help with that, right?
Actually,
Fantastic.
it may actually catch incomplete applications before we've even spent staff time on them. Because if the
Nice.
AI goes through and goes, oh, this is supposed to be 6 inches and you only have it at 4 inches, it's going to kick it back to them so they can make those corrections and it can come back to us. So on DRB applications, it's going to save a lot of time. On something smaller like a zoning permit, if the shed comes back and it's only 10 feet from the side and we go, nope, it's 15-foot setback, it's going to kick it back. So it'll help just save staff time, catch errors, just another set of eyes, even if it's not human eyes.
Oh, that's it. It's
I wanted
amazing.
to speak to the question about the code enforcement, Sharon. So certainly we're concerned about compliance and enforcement. I don't want anyone to think that by not opting into that module that that's not a concern or a focus of the town. That module was more about electrical, plumbing, those sorts of more scaled up permits. We did look at it in terms of burn permits. That's another permitting thing that the town offers. It's not really for that. So certainly want to make sure folks don't think we don't care about code enforcement, but we're not resourced to need that level of permitting support for that.
I see what you're saying. Well, thank you.
Does not include parking tickets. So like they're talking about really things that we just don't have just for the size of our city. Because this is something that it could be 250,000 people living in a town or a city that they service.
Well, Brittany, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon. Lois?
Whitmore.
Ms. Whitmore, you're up next.
I had a similar question about the code enforcement, because I noticed that looking at the Act 250 permits from the state, there are a lot of as-built things that come before the commission there, and wondered what the relationship was between that as-built and code enforcement. But I understand what your reasoning is, but I have a different question, which is that a lot of things have come before the DRB, having gone through a process of a conceptual plan approval. And I wondered how the software addresses plans when they're presented in their conceptual form.
I think it depends on what level of conceptual it is. We have some that come in as very loose ideas where the software is going to allow for collaboration between departments, but not necessarily kind of more of the AI features. So when something comes in for conceptual discussion, we'll send it out to the different departments. So it'll be Parks and Rec, Fire, Police, and Public Works, and we'll get their comments on it. It doesn't have a full staff report that goes with it for conceptual review. It's something that's really kind of just gathering department comments and then having the DRB give their thoughts and opinions on it. So it's kind of a different type of application. So it would still have the software that we would have it in there. We would have the visibility that people could see it, see what's going on. Departments could comment, but it would be less of the AI features.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. Great. Not seeing their hands, we'll bring it back to the board.
I make a motion that the select board authorize the town manager to execute a 2-year contract with GovWell for permitting software.
Thank you, Meg. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Andy. Any further discussion? We'll bring it to a vote then. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Welcome to the 21st century.
We're actually going to scoot back. Thank you so much for joining us to business item 7E, to interview and possibly appoint a volunteer to serve on the GMT representative board. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and give us some background about your past service.
Sorry I'm late. You're very efficient tonight.
We're trying to be, you know.
And also confusing. You're not sitting where you usually sit. So.
Confused us, too.
We'll get used to it. My name is Paul Boney, and I'm currently the representative from the town of Essex on the Board of Commissioners for Green Mountain Transit. I've been associated with Green Mountain Transit for at least 10 years. When I retired from town manager in Shelburne, actually I was called to be their interim general manager for about 7 months. So I got to know Green Mountain Transit pretty well at that time. I considered it really a good organization and very glad to be involved with it. I don't know how much more you want me to go into.
Anything you want to say, or we can jump into questions for you?
I mean, I think these are trying times for the organization. Actually, it's been that way for years. It's not operated in the black for a number of years. during COVID, there was an awful lot of federal money available, and that really bailed out the organization over periods of years. And I think we're using the last of the COVID money and the various money that was available in the FY27 budget. That's how long and how much money there was. But that's essentially gone now. So we're back to the point in time where we're trying to operate on the funds we have available, and that's caused us to reduce quite a bit of service in the last year. And that's something the board really finds very troubling to have to do. A lot of people depend on the bus to get to appointments and work and so forth, and you hate to cut service, but when you're looking to find the funds to run the operation, then you have to make some very tough decisions. And we're in discussions with Essex about the number 4 as well. But I'm glad to be involved in the decisions that we have to make, as tough as they might have to be, and I'd like to continue being involved and continue to do that.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. It's been, we see you frequently. I appreciate your level-headedness and the way you've always represented Essex well. I'll turn it to the board for questions for Mr. Boney. Meg.
I'm just curious, kind of what you feel like has been, I mean, you covered a lot of kind of what my questions are. Typically ask kind of what's been rewarding and what you've seen as a challenge, maybe what you're, kind of hoping to do in this next year.
The challenge is really looking at the budgets going forward.
Yep.
And looking where the money might come from. And we're about 80% funded by the federal government. And so right now they're going through the process of putting together their budget for transportation. And so we really don't know at this point in time whether the budget, the money that we're going to be receiving is going to be the same as it has been. Is it going to be worse? It's potential it might be a little bit better. That would be probably too much to hope for, but it's possible. One of the things that we've done very well with, we have overall a very efficient operation. And so compared to all the bus organizations about our size nationwide, we do very well. And we are rewarded for doing that with some dollar benefits that go with that. And there's some rumors going around, I understand, in DC that maybe they're going to actually increase those particular factors. So that would be really good news for us and allow us to do things that we maybe didn't anticipate we're going to do. But budgets is that's the real crux of what we're dealing with, and how do you balance that budget year after year when you're operating in the red, and hopefully you're getting money from somewhere. The state of Vermont's been very good to us, so they've really helped us stay afloat. So it looks like 27 is going to be reasonable, but now 28 looks like it's going to be falling off a cliff. So we'll have to see what happens between now and then.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Kendall.
Could you share what has been the most rewarding part of a service that's been challenging?
I'm sorry,
Could you share what has been the most rewarding part of your service which has been challenging?
I guess the rewarding part is knowing that we operate pretty efficiently, and that we provide a lot of service to a lot of people that need it. Most of our riders are people who don't have vehicles, and so they really need the bus to get to shopping, medical appointments, work, and so being able to provide an efficient service to them is probably the most rewarding part of being a member of the board.
The other question I would ask is a little more difficult. It's possible that the town of Essex may not choose to continue as a contributing member of Green Mountain Transit. Do you have any ideas, should you continue in your position, as to how the town could transition to something else or similar, or still participate?
So make sure I understand your question. You want to know the process of if you were to vote not to be a member, what would be the process of getting back in?
No, mostly that if you had any ideas as a representative as to how we would work with them as a non-contributing member.
Some reason with your voice,
I know,
Kendall, I'm having a hard time. My hearing's not the greatest, and you're.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't speak the clearest either. So it's a complicated question. I'm just curious if the town withdraws from Green Mountain
Yeah.
Transit, you'll still be our representative. So we'll be looking to work with them with some of the aspects that we have. And if you have any ideas how you could facilitate that.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Thank you. Sorry about that. There's several things going on. One is your senior buses. I know that the staff is working with your staff to make sure that you have the opportunity to get buses so you can continue to provide the service that you do for the seniors. So that's one thing that's going to go on, and that should hold really no matter what. As you might not know, but we're about to divest ourselves of the last piece of the rural system, which is mostly some a little Lamoille, but mostly Washington County. And so there's going to be probably a transition for your I guess probably your rec director to work with the new folks from RCT to transfer over. So you'll be working with them to provide that service. So that's one thing that's going on. I think the town will be whole on that one. I mean, the other thing is, and you know, I think I'll hold a little bit on this because Clayton's going to be joining us in a bit, and he's going to be asking the board tomorrow for a number of different things involving Essex Junction and Essex, having to do with the number 4 and the number 2, and the timing of when that may all those things may occur. So there are some things going on that are positive, and I don't want to steal Clayton's thunder nor maybe say something that's maybe not exactly accurate, but that's something we'll be working on starting tomorrow to try to keep some service here in Essex.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'm gonna hold my question until we get to that other agenda item. Yeah.
That's fair. I will do the same. I think this is obviously a hot topic. We've had you at many meetings. Do you have any questions for us about representing?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the only time I see you folks is when I come in because something's going on you want to know more about, but certainly communication is something I try to read a lot of minutes of your meetings and try to keep up with what's going on. But that's I hope you don't feel that you're not getting the communication that you desire, and I'm certainly willing to communicate more and not just come here when there's a potential of a service cut.
Andy.
Sorry, I want to ask for a point of clarification. It's a 3-year term.
Yes.
But it's possible that we're only going to be members for another year. So I
Yes.
assume that if the town is no longer a member, you would no longer be on the board.
I'll be out of a job, Andy.
Yeah, okay, just wanted to make, he won't continue to represent us on the board for the full 3 years.
apologize
We
for
withdraw because we
misunderstanding.
won't have the privilege of having a member on the board, yeah.
Oh,
I
I
think
kind of
there's-
assumed he would continue as our appointee to work with us with whatever the new was happened, but, okay. Sorry about that.
You know, who knows what's going to happen in the next
Right.
year, so
Right.
we just take it a step at a time here.
Well, thank you.
Very welcome.
We do have the opportunity to appoint him now, or we can do that later in our executive session.
Oh, good point.
Not hearing a motion, I will move.
yeah.
Andy.
I make the motion that the select board appoint Paul Boney as the representative of Green Mountain Transit.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meg. All those in favor of appointing Mr.
Wait.
Yes.
I actually have a comment. I have a great respect for Mr. Boney, but I have been consistent in not voting for a member that is not a member of the town of Essex. But I want to be clear that I will make an exception this time because I don't think this is the time to switch representatives. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, Kendall. Any further comments or discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you, board, and Kendall, I appreciate that. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We will see you shortly. Do we have Jeff online? Okay.
I do not see him.
Just checking. We will jump down to business item 7H. Consider approval of traffic calming manual. Please come forward. Welcome back.
Yes, we're back. Issue before you tonight is whether the select board will adopt the traffic common manual with proposed revisions. Last meeting, we were here, both of us, and presented this manual. There were some comments from both the board and the public. Leah brought them back to the office and worked through them. I think what we have here in your packet tonight has everything that was discussed at that meeting, and looking for you to, we have a recommendation there to approve and adopt the traffic common manual. Leah's here to answer any technical questions on that part. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll jump to the board. I just want to make the comment that I'm impressed with the speed at which you took notes last meeting, as well as incorporated those going through this over the weekend with the fine-tooth comb. I was impressed to see everything that I remembered being discussed was at least noted and edited, as well as even in the examples of what a speed bump is, there was like a minor thing about budgeting or things like that that was also, edited to reflect the thoughts. So thank you for the thoroughness. Just a compliment to your department as a whole. You guys do a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leah.
Turning to the board, questions about the traffic calming manual. Meg?
Not necessarily a question, just to reiterate what you said, Shannon. I appreciate the work to adjust based on the feedback that we gave last week. I appreciate removing the first petition requirement and lowering the threshold of required signatures. I think it's a good compromise for still getting buy-in, but not necessarily delaying potential work on this. And I appreciated the clarification of making it clear in this that it is meant to be a living document, but it's also outlining, a process and having an established process. So, yeah, I think those were my two big points, and so I think these are good compromises for what you guys adjusted.
I'm good with it. Good.
I was ready to approve it last time, but I will put forth, I've been watching some surrounding communities that have been having some challenges with particularly speed bumps and things like that. And one of the issues, I sent it in an email, is that if the speed limit of the road is such and you expect people to go over that bump at the speed limit, you have to make sure it's engineered so they can do that. Because I know there have been some speed bumps around where they've just installed them and you can't go the speed limit over them. And I think it's not mentioned in the manual anywhere, but there needs to be very clear signage that if you put in a 10-mile-an-hour speed bump, it should be 10 miles an hour, and so that everybody knows that. I just would make that note because it's been very interesting listening to some of the meetings.
Right. Yeah, I think as we move forward with the traffic calming manual, we'll definitely take into consideration best engineering practices for those specific roads.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
I just had a question or a point of clarification about the appeal process. Did I read it correctly that one resident could trigger a full appeal process?
I believe so.
Okay. No, I was just
Yeah.
that stuck out to me as surprising because as we've talked in our previous meetings, I'm sure there are. I think you put it eloquently that it's never going to be, everyone wants something or nobody wants something, and
True, and but I think everybody has the right to have their voice heard.
Sure,
you know,
absolutely.
and as part of that process, they would have the burden of proof to come to you folks and say, yeah, this is a detriment to me, either aesthetically, it's outside my home and the noise, or it's going to hurt my car, or a number of things.
Sure,
but I do think it's warranted that everybody does have the voice and brings it to you. And you folks will be the ones who decide on which way that would go. So.
Great. No, I was just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly. Any further questions from the board? Public comment? Any hands in the room? I see no hands in the room. I'm sure there are hands online. Greg, any hands?
Not yet, but I see some people who had spoken in the past, so maybe just
Let's give it
give a moment. If
20
everyone,
seconds
if
or 30
you wanna raise your hand, it's at the bottom of the screen.
We are speaking with the traffic calming manual. Just want to make sure people's voices are heard. Yes, there's Courtney Thomas.
Hi, thank you. I had a chance to look through the manual that was in the packet for tonight, and I really do appreciate that there was some consideration taken into what the public comments were, and that was reflected in there, and I appreciate that quite a bit. I did wonder about throughout this whole process, one thing in Tanglewood in particular has been that it's a kind of a unique road. And it seems like this manual and process, I guess I'm wondering how rigid it is, because in our community, all these metrics that you put forward, it wouldn't have met. So for like 29, people are going 29 miles an hour, and that you're saying the threshold is 30. And something that I think you've heard residents repeatedly say is that, we're sharing the road closely on bikes, walking, with cars, because we don't have any sidewalk or bike paths or anything. So I guess my question is just how rigid is this document, and how are you going to consider unique circumstances?
I guess the manuals here is kind of the framework. This is our roadmap, as you say. Every situation is going to be different, and every road is going to have its own characteristics, whether it be the type of uses that are on and along that right of way, whether residential or commercial. I think a lot of that will be taken into consideration when we do initiate a traffic study, and then go forth and start looking at solutions or possible other types of treatments we could use in certain areas. So, yeah, I don't know if you had anything more to add, Leah, but I think it's going to be used more for finding what the best fit for each request is going to be. And in Tanglewood, you're right. It's a very wide road, older road. We don't allow them like that anymore for a reason. Yeah, I encourage. We are going to be initiating some work out there here shortly, as you may know. We have notified the residents of Tanglewood that we're going to be installing some of these measures. But yeah.
Thank you, Aaron. Courtney, do you have any other questions or comments?
No, I guess that was just what I wanted to bring up. I'm sorry, there's a lot of screaming going on in the background. I just wanted to bring that up, that, there is a lot of unique circumstances that we have around here, and to just consider that. And I guess maybe if I reframe looking at it as not a way to say no to calming measures, and more of a way to get people what they need. That helps.
Thank you. Thank you for your passion on this topic. Any other hands online? Not seeing any hands online, not seeing any hands in the room. I'll bring it back to the board. Meg.
I move the select board adopt the traffic calming manual.
Thank you, Meg. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Kendall, thank you for the second. Any further discussion about adopting the manual from the board?
Great job to staff.
Great. We'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That will bring us back to GMT. Business item 7I, consider approval of resolution to withdraw from membership in Green Mountain Transit. I believe Clayton's online, is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Boney, could you join us up front?
I think Clayton planned on being here virtually.
He's online.
He's online, yes.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Clayton. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Greg, why don't you present this?
Sure. So this is continuation of a discussion that you've had at your past few meetings, really dating back about a year now, about whether Essex should continue as members of GMT. Just a quick recap for anyone who hasn't or is new to the issue. GMT has been facing its financial challenges. Mr. Boney spoke to that a little bit during his interview a few minutes ago. And that's been going on for few years now. As a result of those challenges, GMT has had to make some number of cuts to service in Essex. Those are reduced routes, reduced frequency of ridership. The board last year, the select board last year ended up not taking action. We remained members through fiscal year 26. We're going to be members in fiscal year 27. The way the GMT charter is written is that you have to give notice at least one fiscal year before you leave. At this point, we're looking at the service to Williston has disappeared in the past year. The number 4 is the primary route in Essex. That's a route that runs from Five Corners in Essex Junction up through Essex Town Center, down Sand Hill Road, back along Route 117, River Road. That service has been reduced. It's facing further service reductions in the coming year. It could be reduced frequency. It could be eliminated entirely. That's something that Clayton might be able to shed some more light on when he has a chance to speak. The only other service in Essex is through Fort Ethan Allen. There are a fair number of riders that get on and off at that Fort Ethan Allen stop, presumably from the Susie Wilson Road corridor, residents of Fort Ethan Allen. But Essex has seen a number of reductions in its service. Dues have continued to go up. So at this point, recommended that you have a good conversation and some thought about whether or not you want to continue as GMT members. Staff's recommendation is actually that you pass a resolution indicating an intent to withdraw for fiscal year 28. That does not necessarily have to be binding. It does not necessarily mean the end of public transit in Essex, but it certainly means a change in how that is provided, how it's received, and what public transit looks like in Essex. Lost my train of thought here, excuse me. But so that's the recommendation. Oh, I'm sorry. Some of the ways to continue, or potentially continue to work with GMT in the coming year. Just giving your indication that you plan to leave does not mean that you have to end up leaving. You'll have up until through fiscal year 27 to see what shakes out, perhaps with federal funding, other route changes, what the dues would look like if service is reduced. You can make a decision. Mr. Clark has assured us that if Essex wanted to come back in, despite passing this resolution, that we would be accepted. GMT board would welcome us back. There's another option to look and take a Colchester model. Colchester is not a member of GMT, but they do contract for service, so that could possibly be an option for Essex. We don't know what the cost would look like yet, or service would look like for that, but that is something to potentially explore if you leave. We do have the senior bus staff. Karen and the Parks and Rec Department have been working with GMT about what that looks like. Leaving GMT would not affect that lease, but as Paul said a little while ago, the GMT is looking to shift the senior bus leases to RCT, I believe.
RCT, yeah.
RCT, Rural Transit. So that's another option to explore. One of the bigger impacts would be the SSTA service. That is the special services for people dealing with disabilities. It's part of the ADA Act, Americans with Disability Act. That relies on having a fixed route in place, and it serves residents that live within 3/4 of a mile of a fixed route. That's the number 4 bus. So that, regardless of membership, is at risk if the service cuts are coming to fruition as well. So that's kind of the scenario in the landscape that we're facing, that we've been facing for the past year and a half, couple of years. And I'm happy to turn it over to the board to take any questions and hear your thoughts. And Mr. Clark and Mr. Boney are here from GMT to provide some more insight as to what I was able to provide.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, Karen, both of you for your work on this, as well as the rest of the staff. Questions from the board? Kendall?
It says here that should we withdraw, the only service left would be the number 2 route through East and Allen. Do we have a sense of how many people use that from Essex?
How many people? I don't know the numbers.
Kendall, if you give me a moment,
Did Clayton give those to you?
I do. Clayton actually didn't. It was Essex Junction. I've been talking with the city manager in Essex Junction because they're affected by the route service as well. Some of their staff had pulled some numbers, and I think it was in the 400s, but let me just try to find that.
So a quick answer is a lot more than we're using the number 4 or less? The number 4 is like 1,200 riders?
It's less than the number 4, but the number 4 has more stops.
Okay.
This is shared by Essex Junction. They took this information, I believe, from GMT's ridership numbers. Route 4 had 683 boardings in total. This is based on the April ridership. So that's not individual riders, but that's the number of stops that people make. Going westbound on the Pearl Street, Susie Wilson stopping at the fort, at the Susie Wilson Road stop had 424 boardings. So fewer than the number 4, but that's just based on one stop. And the assumption is that a lot of those people are either working on the Susie Wilson area or living in the Susie Wilson area, or both.
The other question I had was, it looks like the SSTA will be reduced whether we stay or not, because they won't be within 3/4 of a mile of a bus route anymore, should the 4 go away, right? So
I'm sorry, the SSTA would go away with the number?
Yeah, that will be reduced even if, whether we leave or stay, because if the number 4 goes away, a lot of those folks close would go, they can't use the SSTA.
That is my understanding, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Terry, it might be helpful if Clayton would be willing to share with you what he's going to present to the board tomorrow morning. I think that might give you an idea of what to expect is going to be happening, at least for the next several months.
Okay.
Mr. Clark, could you jump in?
Sure, very happy to, and sorry not to be there in person tonight. I appreciate you taking this up, and I want to start off by saying that I think that as a town of Essex resident, that Greg's recommendation to you is very sound, and I think that he's done an excellent job considering this situation. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be recommending to the Green Mountain Transit Board of Commissioners that we phase out the number 4 in 2 different driver bids instead of 1. This would mean that half of the service would be reduced in August of 2026, and then the remaining half would be reduced in the first bid in 2027. Typically, that happens in late February or early March. I'm making this recommendation for several reasons. First, it seems like that there is clear interest in extending the number 2 to the Essex experience, and we're not in a position to have that implemented by August, and I would not want there to be a gap there. If there are a gap in service, if that was to continue. We also are not sure what the impact is going to be if the ADA service zone were to end, because we know that having those 78 folks go on the O&D program, the State Older and Disabled Persons Program, that would be a big negative impact to that program. And many of those folks may find that program not meeting their needs, especially if they're using the ADA service for employment. I think that we need to understand what the impact is going to be more fully before we fully cut the fixed route service. Also, I would really like to have a much better idea of what potential federal funding we would receive before the line was completely eliminated.
Clayton. Further questions from the board? Andy?
So if the number 4 is going to be reduced by half in August, does that impact SSTA?
No, because we are going to keep the span of the day approximately the same.
My other question is, if we go to a model, the Colchester model, where we're not members in contract service, the SSTA cost doubles, correct?
Actually, with the agreement that we have with Colchester, they negotiated to receive the same rate as the member rate.
The difference then would be not having a member on the board.
It would mean not having a member on the board, which means that that means you lose a little influence on our decision making. But in exchange, we no longer have assessment authority over you. We have to come to a negotiation. And so typically those service agreements are much more transactional. We understand that being a member of GMT it's a membership organization, and that the contribution is just as much for support of the organization as it is for the service. And I think that that really is challenging for our smaller members, which just by the nature of the fact that you're receiving, 10 runs of service, not hundreds of runs of service. It's just by its nature, I think, going to be more transactional.
Is there any way to change the number 2 bus from saying Essex to saying Essex Junction, since it's not coming to Essex?
I know that they have space limitations, but I'm sure that the space would allow for that. I had not previously heard that one, so thank you for raising that to our attention.
Salt in the wound to see the number 2 Essex bus.
Well, it's just because of that one stop. It's a very popular stop.
So does that stop go away if we're no longer a member?
I doubt it, because it's a very popular stop.
Okay.
And so what we do with Colchester is that, they pay us a contribution for the number 2. We negotiate with them for that. And I would probably turn around and say, hey, for this stop, are you willing to make a contribution? But I can also tell you that, like when we dip into Colchester, like we're going to be doing with a route change to the number 9 in Winooski, we're going to dip a little further into Colchester, but we're actually not going to charge Colchester for that because it's clearly in service to Winooski. So, I would have to consider whether we would even want to charge you for that one stop, because it's in service to Essex Junction and Colchester and Winooski and everybody else. So sorry for rambling.
That's okay, because it triggered another question. Sorry, can I keep going?
Yes, please.
If that stop remains, or with the bus passing through that area, that short segment of Essex, does that short segment of Essex still eligible for SSTA services?
Yes, it is. And so that would be something that I would try to negotiate with you and say, hey, it would be a wonderful thing if you all paid for the ADA service for the folks in the town that live in that small corridor.
Okay. Which we could do without being members.
Yes, because Colchester pays for their members' ADA service along the 2.
All right.
No, Andy, these are great. I appreciate it. Is that, yes, Meg?
Clayton, thank you. And I just had a question. You mentioned potential interest in extending the number 2 to the Essex experience.
Yes.
I just want to understand more about that.
Yeah, so one of the things that's been in consideration for several years is potentially having the number 2 on a small subset of its runs, say like maybe every 3rd run or every 4th run, would, instead of ending at the Amtrak, would continue out of town to the Essex experience, going past the brick. Oh, why is the full name escaping me? Brickyard, the Brickyard Apartments, and one of the things that I think is going to be really interesting there would be seeing what the impact of the user population if suddenly the Essex experience, would turn into a giant park and ride that has a grocery store, so that people who are traveling, from Jericho or Westford, and would be coming by that way, they would be able to, park at where they may do their grocery shopping, hop on a bus, and the next thing they know, they're in downtown. And so that is something that I think I would like to see for our service. And again, it sounds like this is something that the city is in supportive of and would be interested in making a financial contribution to. So it seems like there may be an economically viable pathway to add that.
Okay. And just so I can kind of understand, if we were to remove our membership, we have the option of essentially creating separate contracts with GMT to service kind of particular areas or particular route, not necessarily routes.
Yes, and so that's exactly what we just finished doing with Colchester. We did a 10-year contract with them that essentially laid out, for service along the number 2 corridor. This is, how the pricing will work. For service along the Franklin commuter corridor, this is how service will work. And so then that gives both parties sort of long-term predictability. And it also creates, more of a contractual arrangement where we're going to provide X, and in exchange, you're going to, pay Y.
Thank you, Meg. Not seeing any other hands from my fellow board members. I just want to jump in and ask 2 questions. I'm curious, obviously right now we pay about $96,000 annually for the services we do have. I've heard in reference that will go down if we lose the number 4, and I'm just curious, what will the membership fee for the town of Essex be if we don't have the number 4?
If you don't have the number 4, the challenge is going to be that the rest of so it's about $40,000 for the fixed route contribution for the number 4. And then the remaining balance is for the ADA service that's required because of because of that fixed route. So if the number 4 were to go away, then the requirement to have that ADA service would go away. So the full assessment could, almost essentially go away. I'm not even sure if our assessment model has that one stop, contributed towards town of Essex or not, to be honest with you. But so I don't know. That could be, like a very small, tiny contribution, but it would not be anywhere near, more than a couple thousand, much less 96,000.
And so it'd be proportional, because obviously the number 4 is probably 90% of our bus coverage in the town. Would you
more than, I think, more than that. Yeah, yeah.
And so it'd be reduced proportionally.
Yep.
My other question is, obviously, I'm sure you've seen in the public contract. Before I go ahead, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to. It's only the 40,000 that will be reduced, right? Because we still have to pay for the full fare for the ADA portion of it, which is the other 50-some thousand.
That would be if.
What was you recommending?
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
There's three months of fiscal FY27 that won't have, that potentially wouldn't have any bus service through around the number 4 route.
Yep.
So I think we would have to pay all of the ADA until March, but it sounds like there could be a proportional reduction to the 40,000 for the number 4, is my understanding.
No, that's what I was trying to, it sounds like there's a lot of gray area.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a huge reduction. It doesn't feel like that to me. But.
My other question was, you've probably seen the packet with the resolution that we have, is the line where we actually state that we want to, possibly make a decision if we were to say we're leaving this year right now, and then we have this resolution that says if we change our mind, you will let us back in. Is that enough to, base this on? Up to this point, we've been saying, Clayton has said in his meetings that he thinks, or he believes that, GMT's board will let us in. I'd like to know that the words in this resolution, if we were to go down that path, is binding enough so that we're not left, without a shovel down the road type situation.
I think that perhaps the best thing that you did to prevent that from happening was your action earlier in the meeting to appoint Paul as the commissioner and as the treasurer. I think he's, other than our chair, the most influential person that we have on the commission. And so I think between the two of us, I'm very confident that, first, I don't imagine any commissioners disagreeing, but even if they did, I think that that people will see the benefit of your continued staying if you decide to do that.
I mean, Clayton, not to speak out of school here, but potential tomorrow morning, ask for a straw vote of the board of if Essex leaves and wants to come back in sometime in FY27, would the board tend to agree that that would be a good idea?
I think that's a great idea, Paul.
Thank you.
I mean, our bylaws don't contemplate that. I mean, that's just something, I guess they felt if you leave, you're gone. They never contemplated this kind of a situation.
Further comments from the board? Let's open this up for public comment then. Any hands in the room about this topic? Not seeing any in the room. We'll go online.
Lois Whitmore.
Lois Whitmore, your hand is raised. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I would be a little concerned in that contractual arrangement that gave some seniors, because of their location, the ability to have ADA transportation, leaving a bulk of people in another section of the city without the transportation. There's a potential for an inequality there that concerns me.
Thank you, Lois, for your comment. Any further hands online?
Cheryl Van Epps.
Cheryl Van Epps, raising your hand.
Hi, Cheryl Van Epps, 8 Rustic Drive. Just to follow up on Lois's comment, does GMT have data on the location of these folks who are using the SSTA services, where they reside? I'm just curious.
Paul or Clayton, do you have an answer to that?
So I can tell you that the 78 figure is those folks who live within 3/4 of a mile of the current number 4 route. I do not know what the distribution is between the city and the town or along there. I'm sure that that's something that we would be able to provide, and but I just am not prepared to give that right now.
Those numbers, don't they, Clayton?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Not seeing any further hands online or in the room. I'll bring it back to the board. Kendall.
I would make the motion that the Select Board adopt a resolution to withdraw from Green Mountain Transit Authority in fiscal year 2028 and authorize staff to send the resolution to the Green Mountain Transit Board of Directors.
Thank you, Kendall. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Andy. Further discussion about the motion on the table? Andy?
Although our town plan asks us to support public transit, I'm going to vote in favor of leaving at this point to give us the opportunity to leave if things don't turn around. So,
Thank you, Andy. Kendall?
I would just note that what carried the most weight for me was the general manager of Green Mountain Transit recommending this action.
Thank you, Kendall. Meg?
Yeah, I kind of agree with both what Kendall and Andy said. I think this is a really difficult decision, and I feel like there are kind of extenuating circumstances. Also, I appreciate that GMT seems willing to work with the town of Essex to find other solutions, and so I want to make sure that we continue to have these conversations to see how we might still provide a service without necessarily having this kind of cost burden potentially.
Thank you. I will jump in and add my comments as well. This has been weighing heavily on me as well, because I think public transit is essential to our community, and I appreciate the members of the public that have spoken at this meeting and as others about why they use it and how it helps their lives. You know, I view this, and I will be voting in support of it because I view this as an intent, and we have a year to work on it contractually to figure out something that is better, that hopefully we've heard, many examples tonight of possibilities, and I'm hopeful that we can get creative to find a better solution while we go through these funding periods, and hopefully, someone finds a lot of money in a few couple months and things get better. Because I think public transit is essential, and it's how our community can thrive. Any further comments from the board? Let's bring it to a vote. All those in favor of approving the resolution to withdraw from Green Mountain Transit in fiscal year 2028, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
If I could, Mr. Chair, appreciate your comments, Meg, and I hope you appreciate that Clayton and his staff are working really hard to try to keep some service here in Essex.
Yeah.
And they will continue to do that.
That's
Yeah,
apparent, and I
for
appreciate
sure.
it. Thank you again, and you got a hard job ahead of you. We will now move on to business item 7J. Consider approval of Select Board Work Plan for fiscal year 2027. As we've done in past meetings, I don't know who's driving today, but can we put it up on the screen?
Yes. Give me one moment.
Thank you for coming.
I will make that bigger.
Please.
Thank you. Greg, you want to present the next task?
Yes. All right, so this is the latest draft of the Select Board's work plan for fiscal year 27. If you remember, you went through at your last meeting and kind of reassigned some items, either figuring they were in departmental work plans or moving stuff to the parking lot. I do have a parking lot tab available if you want to take a look at that. Otherwise, it's your goal and your task for tonight is to take a look at what remains and start to assign priorities, figure out if this is the final draft, and if you're ready to approve it tonight based on priorities or any other changes, that is where we are at in the process.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you, members of the board for their work on this, as well as the staff members as well. I would recommend, and I'm open to, this is a work session basically, suggestions as how we go about this. We've done it in a variety of ways. Well, I've only seen it done once before, but I'm sure Andy can say we've done it in a variety of ways. But I think we start at the top and kind of go down, talking about the project as well as the prioritization, and then take an informal kind of vote among the members here, if there is debate. Does that sound like a good path forward? I'm seeing nods.
I just have a
Yes, please.
question. Is this in addition to what remains on the 26 work plan? Or, like, I feel like there are projects that are still in progress, right? And we're coming up on the end of the fiscal year. Stuff that hasn't been done, some of them have been moved to a parking lot, but I'm assuming the ones that haven't will just roll over.
Good assumption. I think it's worth calling that out, and whether
Okay.
you want to take individual items and put them in, or just say, one item to complete any ongoing fiscal year 26 work items. I would be comfortable with that, but
Okay.
it's your comfort level at the end of the day that matters.
Okay.
I think that's a good suggestion. Andy, have we done anything of the similar approach in the past?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
You've done it both ways. That
You're
sounds
the
like.
resident historian over here, so I appreciate it.
Job I hate sometimes.
We'll start at the top, and please interrupt me as you see fit. But the first one, obviously, we recently passed a resolution on this. The town voted on this. It's in progress. It's labeled as mandatory. I think that is fitting. Any comments or concerns? Not seeing any hands. Moving on. Second, execute Ask Me contract. Again, it's a mandatory thing. It's a special project. We're proud members of Ask Me and this the staff here, so I think it's necessary. Any questions? Any concerns? Moving on. The third, make determination of whether to renew town manager's contract. I think it's important that we have a town manager. Again, it's mandatory. I think I don't want to. My humor is not meant to put down debate or stop people from talking about things. But not seeing any hands or concerns. We'll move on to number 4. Conduct an agricultural feasibility study to support the population of Essex. This has been something I know Ethan has spoken passionately about for the 2 years I've been on the board. I know he's not here able to be with us this evening, but I believe his intent was to put it on there with at least a low priority.
Yeah. What are our options? High, medium, low?
Mandatory, high, medium, low. Yes, if you can
Yeah.
see that.
Andy.
I guess I don't understand what we would do with this information. I don't.
Not to put you on the spot, Karen, but I know Ethan's talked to you a lot about this, how it would be implemented and what it would actually. I've heard things from residents about if the apocalypse hit, could our community feed ourselves, and kind of studying that. I don't want to put words in Ethan's mouth or why he proposed this, but I didn't know if you could objectively think about what he's presented.
Sure. I think what I've learned in my conversations is I think what he's looking to do is figure out what are Essex's food needs. That would be one thing. Can Essex support our own needs? And then if not, what type of farmland would need to be reserved, or what type of programs could be put in place to support expanding farming to the new places in town that would be needed for long-term food security. That's what I am gathering.
Thank you. Is it similar to the scenic overview layout that people have seen used before?
Certainly zoning could be a tool. I don't know if there are specific recommendations that would come out of a study like this that would look at, ways that the town specifically could support agriculture or the food economy. I wish I knew more on that angle from Ethan on that.
Kendall.
I might suggest that it almost sounds like more of a task force job, where you would create a task force or committee to look at that particular issue. That the select board job would be to create that task force and let them Work on it. Just a suggestion.
Building off of that, are you suggesting to like almost assign it to like the Conservation Trails Committee or
Yeah,
something
I
like
mean,
that?
that was my first thought, but if there's a particular committee that we already have that aligns with that particular task, I mean.
I might suggest, I feel that the language, I think Ethan chose that language for a reason, is, very direct. I would almost say, putting something on there that I've seen in the past of explore, the possibility of an agricultural feasibility study to, because it sounds like if the seven of us can't really define exactly what it is, that further research is needed.
Mm-hmm. To Andy's point too, potentially adding like outlining what we would do potentially, like if we were, I think it's worthwhile moving it to committee work. I don't disagree. And maybe having kind of a call to action as a part of that. Like what would we do with this if we were to receive it?
Would you mind, Shannon?
Yes,
if
please.
I've talked with Adrian about this. I think our Parks and Rec director, I think there's a thinking it might be in their wheelhouse if it is something that gets pursued by the town. One idea that we were kicking around is taking advantage of our farmers market vendors and potentially doing some sort of survey around how they could be better supported by the town. Would you be interested in town-owned land? Would you rather lease that from, own? Those sorts of things. Just tapping into the fact that we have that contact info and that relationship just to build our knowledge of who does what and what those folks might desire to continue to do that work. So that was one angle on this. I don't know that that gets at what's drafted here. So some wordsmithing would be necessary to maybe, I don't know, explore extent of agricultural economy in Essex or, something similar. Again, I'm not sure who you would like to do that work, but it would be a different take. Just rounding that out.
I don't know.
Andy?
I'm just, thank you for those comments. The triggered just thinking maybe something along the lines of explore options for to support local agriculture.
I think that would get the crux of it across, and it's inclusive enough that I don't think it's excluding the specificness of a feasibility study. But I think that this almost feels like this direction right here almost feels like a very specific, only this. And I think there's room for exploring and expanding and seeing what is possible. I think your wording, Andy, I'd be open to editing as such. I'm seeing 3 nods. Kendall, do you have thoughts about changing the words to be more, still with the same essence of the, what's that?
I would, yep.
Is that explore options to support?
So we're not just, almost pigeonholing type one thing we can do. And I think that then gives you, Adrian's that suggestion is great. I think there's other varieties that we could do to bring this a step further.
I know Catherine has talked about looking at our zoning regulations and like food trucks and trying to support markets and farm stand type things too. So that's another angle.
Good. Do we have a thought on priority level?
I don't think it's high.
I agree. I would not think it was high or mandatory.
Yeah. Probably low. Would be my vote.
Are people okay with low?
I could go medium or low.
Can we come back to it, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, let's put one of those in there right now, just so we, we can always. I think at the end, I was like,
at the end, we'll get to the point where there are no lows on that chart, so we gotta make something low.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's. But I think it's important at the end that we did this last year, where it was like everything can't be a high priority.
Right.
So or everything can't be a low priority. I think we can balance those. So we can start it at medium and then come back to it if we need to. Any further debate or discussion on this? Not debate.
Medium's perfect.
Great. Number 5, continue to pursue property acquisition for public water access along the Winooski River through potential use of the conservation fund. You know, this is an exciting project, a passionate project that I know Andy, you know, is credited with bringing into existence 8, 10, I don't know how many years ago.
Who knows?
It's one that I feel we are close to, and progress has been made, and I've appreciated all the quarterly updates I've seen on this while it has been in the work plan. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I feel like we're in the fourth quarter type situation where it's almost there. Obviously, there could be another game down the road to get additional parcels and different things, which is exciting as well. But
So this only addresses the acquisition.
good point. That is the first step. But I do think that we have talked and we've seen plans and sketches of possible development seems too strong of a word to use, but creation of an actual usable new park for a boat launch or a river access.
So column F says raise in priority from FY26. What is that?
These are just the notes from your last meeting.
From the last, okay.
Yeah, so some of them were, you know, put in the parking lot or assigned to such and such departmental plan, but I left the ones that either didn't have comments or raise in priority, be more specific, stuff like that. But just general quick notes.
We mostly just had a brief, maybe 20-minute conversation at the last meeting to talk about these in theory and what we could strike or whatnot. Just for reference, because I don't have it in front of me, what was the priority last year?
I think it was medium, do you have that?
Mm-hmm.
It's so tiny.
I know, sorry.
Medium.
They're working on the formatting
Yes.
of this stuff.
Medium, yes.
It was medium.
It was, yeah, medium.
Well, let's make it high then.
I would
Yeah.
support that.
I would too.
Let's do it.
Andy, you brought it up, so I put you on the spot, and if you want to take it, don't take it, but do you have additional verbiage you think we should add in there about the second step for the project? Or anything?
No, I think we should let staff do what they need to do to make it
Okay,
happen, because I know it's in their work plan, so.
great. Excellent. Number 6, develop a plan to plow all sidewalks in Essex over time.
Boo. Boo.
I'd be like, eh.
Okay, oh, there's clearly, this has happened, there's been discussion before. There's
Yeah,
clearly
Andy,
two
you spoke
sides to
first.
this.
You jump in
Can
and
I
then
have
Kendall
some
come
context,
back.
please?
So I live in a neighborhood that's plowed.
Right.
Only one side's plowed, so that's one question. Do you want to, you say all,
Strong verbiage, yes.
Mm-hmm.
which means they have to plow both sides. People walk in the street anyway because the sidewalks are slippery as hell. We're on a hill, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to be putting sand and salt on people's sidewalks. It's going to destroy their lawns, and we'll be fighting that fight instead. So I think I guess I don't understand why all sidewalks, and I also, you know, the sidewalk in my neighborhood was added at a point in time when the Essex Westford School District decided that my neighborhood was a walking neighborhood for Essex Elementary School. It no longer is a walking, but it still is on the sidewalk plowing schedule. Lived there for 20 years without it being plowed, and then schools merged and they didn't have enough buses, and so they made it a walking, and so now it's plowed. So for the most part, I've used my snow blower before the plow comes through, and they just lift the blade and drive through. I don't understand why it should be a priority public works service provided for all sidewalks. I think we should do it where it makes sense, where there's people walking to school or kids walking to school, or you know, things that connect things to other things. My neighborhood's not connected to anything. I don't I don't see the need for it to be plowed.
Kendall, I know this has been something you've been passionate about.
I'll choose my words carefully. I just read the new EPR plan, and actually one of the main things that they talk about in there as a priority is to plow the sidewalks that are connectors. And right now, Essex doesn't plow the sidewalks that are connectors. Allen Martin Drive has 3 crosswalks in the winter that go to big snow piles. Then there's old people and young people walking in that road all the time on one of our major truck routes. So my main push for that is that it shouldn't be a case of you have to have so many people or this person has to ask or whatever. Essex should look at its sidewalks and know the sidewalks that need to be plowed based on all the population, not just the school, which you subjectively do now, and have a plan to maintain all those sidewalks, be it contracting or by staff. And I think it should be contracted, because the places they get contracted, you pay for a service. There's a lot of towns that do that. Jericho does that with theirs. And you don't plow all the sidewalks. You don't go down the ones that have a side street, or even if you have a community that doesn't want that sidewalk plowed, if it's a cul-de-sac where there's nobody speeding on it, or you walk in the road, they'll do that. But I'll use Tanglewood as an example. We've heard a lot about that. If they had sidewalks there, I'll bet they'd walk on the sidewalks year-round. So that is the essence of the plan, is that I agree with Andy, it doesn't have to say all sidewalks, but there should definitely be a plan, and it should be a high priority to start work on connecting some of these. I mean, this winter in Allen Martin, it's really sad. You've got that route that goes down through there, people walk on it all the time, and it's not maintained at all in the winter. That's my 2 cents.
Okay.
If I could jump in, I think, I have always, I've had a lot of good conversations with Kendall, and I've asked him a couple times, for some new paths we've decided to, embrace as the town, why he was against those. And when he's brought up the fact that, we're not taking care of, all of the paths now, and they're not plowing them, it made me think it was an important thing to at least work towards doing in the future. When we do this path up, Upper Main Street and different things, I'd really hope that there's a plan for plowing that, because I think that will be a connector and different things. Andy, I'm really glad you've shared your perspective, because I never thought about, all those aspects you brought up about, every sidewalk, and some aren't, needed, and what is the cleanup plan after, plows come through, and there's a lot of factors there. I think wordsmithing this to strike the all and say, connectors or central, or, I think, Kendall, you bring up a good point that it's not just the school district that should be dictating what sidewalks are plowed. It's getting people off the road near trucks, getting people through our connectors and different things like that is a valid point. I think in essence it's a good idea, and I think especially when you think about, as we continue to, we have a 3-5 year project for the, one up the main road just behind us. I would hope that it is going to be embraced in the sidewalk plowing, because I think that will be used not mostly for school children, but it might be used for the high school people going into Essex High School, or it might be used for a whole bunch of variety of sources. I think we need to at least expand our plowing plan for sidewalks, or move towards that. I don't want, again, I think this is, in my opinion, and I'm just one member on this board, it can't happen immediately. It's going to be over time and incremental bits. And obviously, I love when Aaron comes in and gives us the stats of how many miles of, road or sidewalk or everything else like that. It's really an impressive, idea of what we're dealing with here.
They're both equally valid points here. I agree. I think that wordsmithing it, I don't think all sidewalks in Essex need to be plowed. I think it's a lot of maintenance and time and money that we would spend. I do think that maybe it's updating, or mapping, like kind of what is currently plowed, what isn't, and like, let's review that. Potentially that's where we need to go. I agree that it probably should include the connectors and take a look at like your neighborhood, right? And does it need to still be on the list? You know, can it be adjusted? I think that it could potentially, is this a select board special plan, a special project? Is this, I mean, I don't want to add to our public works department, right? Is this our town staff working on this? I guess I'm trying to understand where and how this gets done.
Would you mind if I offered
Yeah.
a thought? So with the next one, I'm going to kind of talk about both of these with the actionable plans as sort of taking things that we've adopted and trying to bring them forward. So we have the active transportation plan. There's a lot of data in there about, I think you use the term heat maps, like how frequently trails are used and for what purpose. Maybe the opportunity is to explore gaps between what that usership shows and where our routes are plowed.
Yep.
I think that's a reasonable ask of staff.
Okay.
And I think it ties in nicely with that second piece too of how are we actually going to use this information to inform improvements. So that would be a very reasonable thing, I think, to ask of staff, something like review gaps between active transportation plan and winter maintenance.
Okay.
And just to add to that a little bit, staff does prepare sidewalk plowing, it prepares the entire winter operations plan each year. The select board then adopts that. So I think if you want us to focus on sidewalk plowing, updating the winter operations plan, the stuff that Karen just said, take that sort of approach to it. I think that's a doable thing that falls under ultimately your purview anyways.
Great. I think that's
Compromise
a good
that's
approach.
like,
Fellow members? Kendall, I know this has been your,
Yeah, I
we
mean,
hit on it for a lot.
I just, yeah, I mean, that definitely needs to be looked at, because right now, we're driving the sidewalk plows down the Susie Wilson Road through back roads for miles to do a section down there, and we're not doing sections right up here next to the garage. So if you look at an action plan, I know Aaron's got all the information, and a lot of it comes down to the money and the plan. So as long as we work on that, make it a good priority, it's a work apart.
Yes. Andy, other thoughts?
I like Karen's suggestion. I don't remember all the words though.
No, I think
You propose, you want to propose the wording?
Yeah, sure.
Logan, can you rewind? Just
I would say review gaps between active transportation plan. User data. It's review gaps between active transportation plan user data and winter maintenance program. It's kind of the vibe I'm going for.
I would
Consider
adding
updates
sidewalks
to
in
snow
somewhere just so we know
removal.
that it is
Yeah, winter operations.
involve sidewalks.
How's that?
Kendall just said if we could just have the word sidewalk somewhere in there as a reminder that that should be included. Obviously, I think the whole full winter operations plan is important.
Yes.
just sidewalk snow removal. Yeah.
Oh,
I think
Okay.
that's great.
that's a stronger
Thank you.
action item and something we can really see clear progress on, which is good. How about rating or priority?
At least a medium for my.
You good with
Kendall
medium?
says medium. Thumbs up for medium. Great.
Shannon, you do have a hand up. Did you want to take comments on each item or after you get to the end of it?
Right.
I've been planning for the end. I feel like this is a pretty extensive thing and there could be a lot of discussion on things, but then the comments at the end will be best. So for members online, we're going to go through these as a board first, and then similar to how we do most every other business item, we'll come to public comment at the end. and we'll have this on the screen so you can see, and we can reference whatever you would like to. So please, I recommend to those watching, unfortunately no one's in the room, to take notes for anything you want to circle back on. Number 7, Karen already, kind of dipped into this one. I saw this, I don't want to put my finger on the scale. Andy.
This is one that I suggested we put in, and the fact is we haven't actually seen all of the plans and stuff. So I'm fine with moving it to the parking lot. I largely wanted to bring it up for awareness.
I agree with you.
Unless you've got a specific thing to make.
My thing I was going to say, without bulldozing through, was that I think that just like what we just did with Karen of actually using those plans and pulling from them to get clear goals, I come from a world where SMART goals are very much a thing, and I think that we need to have, clear things we're trying to accomplish, and deliverables and timelines are a lot loose, but this, in me reading this without seeing much from you, and hearing your thoughts on it, was just we need to use all the studies and plans we've adopted and different things and make sure we're referencing them, and it's a good reminder. I'm fine with moving to the parking lot as long as we take that approach of trying to incorporate plans into our goals. Parking lot?
Yeah.
See a nod?
Yeah.
Great. Number 8, draft and adopt updates to animal control ordinance, possibly public vote. We obviously have a special meeting coming up on the 29th to work on this. As you can see in column G, it's in progress. As we have all seen, this has become front and center for our town. Andy?
I'm not in favor of making any changes to this that increase liability to the town. I haven't seen what's proposed. It hasn't come out yet. Actually, no, it's in the reading file. Yeah, I'm sorry. I haven't seen it
You haven't
yet
memorized
because I haven't read it yet because I was at a wedding this weekend and only did the agenda, the business portion. I'll look at it this week. But when we get to that point, I'm not going to be in favor of increasing liability. I know that I can think of many, a variety of cases. Look, I guess I should wait till I read it, the comment. But it's one of my strong beliefs about being a select board member is that you represent the town as a corporate entity before you represent the people who currently live in it. Regardless of how many people have asked for this, it may not be in the best interest of the town. But again, I haven't seen what's being proposed yet. But that's going to be my.
That's an important lens to look at things. I did stay up late last night and looked through the whole thing and was really, I do not, in my first read, see that it puts us at a, what is the word you're using? Not a disadvantage, but a liability. In my experience, I felt that what we were going through, it was showing that there are holes in the present ordinance and therefore it needed to be updated. What those exact updates are, I don't think needs to be detailed out here, but I think especially I want to take that same intent and almost say that I want to make sure we are not at a liability with the present ordinance because there's no doubt about it. One of the worst situations that could have happened, and my first question after it happened to a Greg was, did we do something wrong? Is the town, at fault? Or, there's a lot of things that happened, and I think we did everything correctly. And that was a 2.5-hour meeting where we went through every single possible thing that we could do given the permissions at that time. So I think we need to protect the town, and this review of it is with that lens as well as other lenses to make sure that we are protecting the town. Meg?
I feel like we are already spending staff time on this, or it not, like, I think that it needs to remain on this work plan instead of potentially stopping. I'd hate to kind of there was a catalyst for why this was adjusted. It sounds like it's being reviewed with a gap lens. So I'd say let's not stop the momentum of it. I don't disagree, right? Like, let's review it. I also haven't had a chance to review the whole thing. Let's review it, have a conversation, so I think it remains on this list for now. I don't know that it needs to be, I'd say I don't know that it needs to be our highest priority, but we're having a special meeting about it on the 29th. So to me it is, let's review it, potentially make adjustments, and then be done. But I agree with you that I think you're,
Greg, I saw your hands up and down.
Yeah, I just didn't want to interrupt.
no, go ahead.
Is it as simple as draft and consider updates to animal control ordinance, possible adoption and or public vote?
We change it to just review.
Right.
Update.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah,
is good
review
language to
animal
use.
control ordinance.
Review, I think,
Mhm.
encompasses possibly adopting, possibly, you know, editing, possibly keeping the same.
So can I ask, what's the public vote about? I wasn't at the, unfortunately, wasn't at the meeting that. this
There
was-
are provisions in statute that if you choose to regulate vicious dogs differently than as outlined in statute, you need voter approval. With the draft that's been proposed, we would need voter approval for those changes, is the thinking at this moment.
Oh, okay. Is that a charter change or is it's just?
No. There's a this is the
Okay, so
premise.
there's a statute that says how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't need a legislative approval, okay.
Mm-mm.
Gotcha. Oh, interesting. Thank you.
Priority level?
Got a special meeting, it's pretty high.
Yeah.
I think I'm fine with high. I also recognize, I would think at least by November, this is going to be off our work plan. So, if not sooner, putting things at high priority, how does that affect the staff?
We obviously treat it with more attention. I mean, some stuff we factor in the timeline too. So if something has a November deadline, whether it's a medium priority or a high priority, we're going to be working on it. If it's a low priority, we'd probably have to come back to you and sort of say, hey, how important is this? Time is also a fair amount of time we put into it. This is pretty far along, so I think making it high priority demonstrates to the public where you think it sits. Honestly, between high priority or medium priority, I think we're going to keep chipping away at it with the idea that there's a big vote in November.
I feel comfortable putting it high as well.
Yeah.
And he does not, but it only takes 3. So
Right.
let's move on with that at
So,
high.
so I just want another.
Yes, please.
Even though this says it's the select board's work plan, we often adopt it as the manager's goals. And so in our assessment of your bonus, right? It's measure of progress against. This is typically what we've done. We don't have to, but that's typically.
No, I think that's a very good way.
So when you asked what's the impact on staff, Greg could choose not to focus on that at the risk of his size of his bonus.
That's fair. Good point.
That's really the only direct impact
no,
that we
that's
can have.
Good point. Number 9, improve contact with state officials.
This is one that I put in also, and I'm fine with putting it in the parking lot. I think it's, I pay attention to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns publications, and whenever I see one that's of interest, I pass it on to these guys to make sure they've seen it. Sometimes they get stuck in the reading file. That kind of thing. There's also the question of should we be more, Ethan brought that thing about Act 181. And it unfortunately came a little too late for us to do anything with because the legislature adjourned before we did anything with it. And I don't know, I don't, this, I guess, was kind of to just stimulate conversations about, do we want to be more involved with what the state's doing? I have heard managers in the past say, well, Montpelier's going to do what Montpelier's do. We just deal with it when it hits us. But I don't know. We're a town of 12,000 people. Do we really have that much influence or not? I don't know. So it's more of a discussion point. I'm fine with moving it to the parking lot because it's so vague. And the other thing I guess I suggested is maybe it just becomes actually a select board thing, rather than making, giving the responsibility to staff.
That's a good point. I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that I know a friend of mine's on the South Burlington City Council, and they each have projects that they own or drive or are responsible for or are appointed to or whatever, and they can't direct staff or anything, but they at least commit to participate or to contribute to things, and so again, this might be more of a select board organizational question than a give work to staff. Because I know, we have to pay attention to what the town clerk does. I know Tammy does, and so there's a lot of paying attention to what Montpelier is doing. But this is it was almost more to because since it is a select board work,
Yeah, no, that's true.
Should we do that, right? Given how we use this list, it may be inappropriate to have it on here.
I think it's a good thing to raise, and a lot of what you said resonates with me. I also agree, especially with your previous comment of that a lot of times we select a work plan to be his goals. I don't personally feel that we need to direct Greg and Karen to spend more time, talking to our representatives and senators and things like that. I think that their time is very valuable, and working on Essex projects is important. Obviously, there's things that are affected by Montpelier and stuff that I feel like they already are. I think Greg and Kendall were testifying for our, charter changes just a few months ago. And they were physically in Montpelier, so I'm fine with moving to the parking lot. I do think it's a good thing to have in there as almost a reminder that, hey, how are you doing that? Check in with yourself, and if we wanted to, as a entity, talk about kind of the South, I think it's South Burlington model of saying, what is the update that you can give us? And I appreciate, VLCT does a good job of sending out updates and legislative updates. So do other organizations. I wish there were more hours in the day, personally.
Yes, that's yeah.
But I think the intent is really good, and I appreciate you raising it. Anyone else have thoughts before we possibly move this to the parking lot, or do anything else with it? 3 for parking lot, 4 for parking lot. Great. Number 10, looking to costs benefits of doing work internally versus through contracts.
I'd
Kendall.
say that should be a high priority. I'm starting to really like the contracts like we saw today. That's going to expedite and save a lot. And I think that going forward, the EPR study, it says they're short staffed for what they do. And if you can get a contract to pick up some of that versus another employee, sometimes that can be more cost effective. So I just think now is a good time to really keep going with the contracts. Because we've got the pump stations, we've got some plowing, we're getting more contracts with IT. So I think it is, I don't know if it needs to be a high priority, but it should certainly be one of the jobs that we're doing. My 2 cents.
I think we've seen the financial benefit, and your example tonight is a good one too. I could see it being a medium priority.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have any lows yet.
We don't. Maybe.
I thought we moved.
Number 11, potentially pursue an MOU with the City of Essex Junction regarding Main Street Path project. I see why it's worded like that now because we're awaiting the grant.
Low?
Meg?
Yeah, I mean,
Low because it's potential?
Yeah.
And dependent on other things?
Yeah.
And,
medium? Like, move it? I don't know.
I think
I
this.
guess, I know.
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
No, I don't have anything concrete to add.
What, looking at the staff, we're just waiting for the grant to arrive and then you'll come to us with probably a proposal, correct?
Yeah, I think if the grant is received, we're probably going to spend much more time on this because it's going to help our project. Yeah, the completion of it. I think it becomes, to opine a little bit, probably a medium priority project that we're going to focus on when time allows. If it comes. If it doesn't come, if we're waiting, I think it's a low priority. You keep it there until something changes.
I'm good with that.
Are we okay? Low? Great. Pursue purchase of Saxon Hill School District parcel.
Low priority.
So the articles of agreement say that if they're no longer using it for educational purposes, it has to be sold to the town for $1. But they have to pay attention, take action to do that. But so,
Does the articles of agreement have a definition for what they call like a time period that it's not being used for?
no.
Okay.
No.
You educated me on this. I think it was last year that this even was a thing. I think it's a great opportunity. Obviously, I think the last time we spoke about it, it was when we were getting a new superintendent. Maybe this was a chance to recircle up. I think it's an exciting idea. I'm curious what we would do with it. I think that's a future.
If we want to call it a park, or if we want to charge fees, I think we probably need to own it.
Yeah.
So it may depend on other things and other priorities, but yeah, I wouldn't make it any higher than low. I would make it low if we would leave it on there or even move it to parking lot, but.
I think low is good.
All right.
Number 13, revisit a potential local option tax item for November and propose how lot funding would be used.
Is the Economic Development Committee working on that? Is that on their work list? I didn't have a chance to look.
The EDs, I don't know if it's on their work plan, and obviously the new work plan will be coming once they have new officers and everything else in the coming months. I know that they did send their full memo, at least I believe it was fully baked when they sent it, when we went through this months ago. And then I think it was Andy said, for a variety of reasons, maybe it's best to wait on this and look into it further before the November ballot. I'm in support of this. I think it's a very
I think we should
worthwhile thing.
Yeah. I'd add it.
I would put it at a medium or high. I don't know what the rest of the board members feel.
I'm big supporter.
Yeah.
I think put it high.
High.
Let's put it high. Number 14, take steps to refer items to committees and give deadlines for advisory guidance, agricultural overlay to PC, housing lot to EDC, etc.
That falls along with the first one.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot here that we've kind of put all together. Is this the one, Karen, you kind of were trying to bring stuff together to make?
Yeah, I don't know that the suggestion here was about the specific tasks. I think it was more about the endeavor to have more two-way conversations with the boards and setting their expectations and work items for them a little more proactively. That was what I was kind of getting at with this here. These were just the examples that we had been kicking around of that. And so that framing just gave it a place to live.
No, I think the intent is good. I think I am getting caught up on the specifics, and I think that a goal that says more so like column F, like direct specific asks to committees deadlines, I think I saw Andy's email about that or something that said like, we don't want to get too stringent. And if I misread that, Andy, please correct me, Andy.
No, I have a little bit of heartburn of giving deadlines to volunteers. We don't even give deadlines to our staff most of the time. And I also struggle, and the other struggle, which I didn't mention, but I thought of as we're sitting here, is we often don't have time. Stuff comes to us, we decide within the meeting or two. If a committee can't get quorum, or as has been mentioned to us from some committee members, they don't have enough meeting time to cover it. What are we going to do? If they miss a deadline, what are we going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe more just specific asks.
Kendall?
I was just going to say, I don't think really the deadline was met in terms of have it on this date specifically. It was like, we'll say an idea, I'll use the lot as an example, is that ask EDC to look into a lot, but without some kind of a report at some point, like you said, it could never come back. There's been some things where it's gone to a committee or it's gone and it just doesn't get to. So I think the thought was more versus a deadline is that when we ask a committee to look into something, some kind of a vague, can you get back to us in the fall or before we need information before town meeting day, so a report on it at some point of your schedule. It just seems like some of the committees, they have a lot to do, but some of them have come in and said, what do you want us to do? So I think it's kind of just closed that gap a little bit.
I like so I just had coffees with committees on Sunday yesterday, and some of the committees were saying, as you were just bringing it, they want to know what we want from them. And I think a goal, and I looked at Karen, you're the master of words tonight, but better utilizing committees to, execute studies or, provide guidance or have a two-way conversation or two-way, directives. I think having a goal in here that says we want to improve the relationship with our committees is a great way to, actually do something.
I think you could just call it timeframes, requested timeframes.
Okay. Andy?
We've had that goal for a long time, and we've done a number of things. We asked them to come in and report to us. I'm wondering if, based on what Kendall said, whether this is more, or could be more action item to review committee mission statements to clarify what expectations. No, or have we done that? I don't know.
No, it's something that's actually one of the carryovers from the fiscal 26 work plan. I don't think there's one or not. If not two, look at the updates to mission statements, so to expand it to asking all boards to review mission statements, I think is kind of in keeping with the relationship building that you've been doing and prioritized over the past 3, 4, 5 years.
Right.
Whether it's its own thing or a modification of that.
I like that, focusing on the mission statements. And that can encompass a lot of what we're saying here. Yeah. Okay. Can you type something out, okay?
Yeah, do you want to completely change this one or modify this one? You just ask boards and committees to propose updated mission statements. Do you want to propose it to them? How would you like to approach it?
Everybody look at me. No, the words that I used, I guess, were review committee mission statements. Yeah, I mean, commissions are kind of defined by statute more, or we just might as well be inclusive. No, it's not. You're right.
For clarity, Is that the
for
hope?
clarity of expectations or something like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
That will be well received and useful. Priority level.
Wow, I'm on a roll tonight.
High,
I would say medium.
medium.
Medium, let's go medium.
15, determine future membership status with Essex
Is done.
and GMT.
Pretty high.
So,
High? I mean, the way it's written, right? Like, well, in the second,
Are 15 and 16 related?
yes.
I think we need to have one about transit, and I would combine
Mm-hmm.
everything. I think we've already done 15.
I think presentation of options and costs for like what's next. Of it, like, kind of as we have answers to the what ifs, right? Like, what does a proportional membership look like? I mean, we've essentially decided right now that we're leaving, but it sounds like if we get more information about if the number 4 goes away altogether, like what does the proportional cost look like? I kind of like whatever is in column F, right? And it combines these two, understanding what a contract could look like, yeah.
So are you kind of saying get rid of 15 and just have 16? Because we've kind of already done 15.
Yeah.
So I mean, not specifically looking at those, I think that the town of Essex and the select board really need to figure out creative solutions and options, and it needs to be encompassing of, you know, our senior services and our, obviously, you know, GMT, it sounds like from some of the things that Andy brought up, if we can not be a member and negotiate at one stop, that might be the best path on that front, but at the same point, we have an entire loop that used to be covered by transit that now doesn't have that. I'd like to, my hope would be that we explore, similar to we had discussions last year, about what would be possible, what we could do to expand our senior bus, what we could do with, I think it was in an email this week from DWSD about, you know, they're gonna look at their options as well. I think there's a couple different entities that are kind of circling around what will eventually be hopefully a good situation and solution for Essex.
Yeah, I mean, my, the other possible just to consider is, I don't know, would GMT allow the city and the town to have a joint membership, right? Would that give us any, I know that we just split, but, or how do we,
Well, I think options, creative options
right,
should be looked at.
yeah. I like what you've written as we talked, Greg.
Good. I think that's encompassing. What does everyone else think?
The only other comment, sorry, renew, rejoin, withdraw contract with GMT.
Yep.
I think it's a separate option, right? Yeah.
Nice, yes.
So I would say we strike 15 and 16 and just have 22. And I personally would think it's an important thing that we need to put high up.
I agree.
That's two people I didn't see. Kendall, Andy, do you have a prioritization?
I think everything needs to be high.
Okay.
If it fits.
Great. Thank you, both of you, whoever was driving. Is it Greg?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead. No.
I was gonna, before I forget it, Meg's comment from earlier on, do you want to put a note right here about continuing fiscal year 26 work plan items that are still in progress at their current levels unless specified otherwise? Which is, you know, could account for the boat launch piece. being a higher priority?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. At the same point, I think Andy has brought it up a couple of times. I like that we've reduced the list. Adding that, which is a catch-all, I feel like might negate all of our
Brings it back.
progress. I would almost say I'd prefer that we go, you know, if we think something is missing from the 26th that should be carried over, I'd like to put it on this one.
Make it
so
explicit rather
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like when we get to next year's plan, it's like continue 26 and 25.
Yeah.
That would just be my suggestion.
So just a quick skim, so don't
Yeah.
hold me to this. It looks like everything has either been completed, assigned to a specific department, or the only one that's coming to mind for me that is in neither of those categories is the fund balance policy piece. So we had revised fund balance assignment process, and fund balance policy was a work plan item last year. We did not do that. So
We
are we
chose not to.
continuing on
Yeah, didn't we?
that, or
Did we vote to not to? I mean, we've had it. We worked on it.
we've had a lot of discussion.
And it's an annual plan that comes up.
Chose not to.
Yeah, I mean, unless
So do you want to keep that on, is my question? Is that one that you want to continue it forward?
I feel like it's had sort of fizzled. We've talked about it, but there's never been a definitive action to table it or to keep working on it. So it's sort of out there in limbo.
I would feel it comes up annually, and we can have that further debate when it comes up again. Now, obviously, I think I was the one that put it on there, and I will admit, you know, momentarily defeat. But I also, again, I'm just one voice on the board, and we've had a lot of good discussion on it. I don't think it, especially if we were to take this to then evaluate the manager, I don't think that should be something that, because it didn't get finalized, that is.
By the select board, yeah.
My quick skim too, obviously I'm not detailed reading this, but I have gone through this before and I was on the board last year. I think it's encompassing. Are there any other things that we want to put on this year's work plan that we have not discussed tonight? Carried over. Kendall?
Well, I would just assess, since we have specifically a parking lot, that maybe we have a work plan item that we just kind of, not necessarily keep tabs or get an update on some of the parking lot item, because looking at them, it looks like they're all put into different departments and they're in some work plans already and everything, so.
So are you saying, you know, line 20, number 16 puts a annually review parking lot
Yeah,
type thing?
I mean, because there's a lot of really good things in the parking lot, but all of them say confirm this is the EPR work plan idea, make sure that it's EPR and Public Works, refer to Energy Committee, so there's a lot in that parking lot. It's really comprehensive.
Well, the reason they're in the parking lot is we don't want to work, we don't necessarily want to
Prioritize them
prioritize
right now.
Yeah.
them right now, so that's where I'm,
Or maybe,
I mean, we went through this year, we started there, right? Like, in developing this, I felt like we started with what was on the parking lot last year. Do we want to move it up and then have a discussion about it?
yeah.
So I think as long as it doesn't go away, you know, I haven't done this before, but I liked starting there, like what has already been on the list that we should maybe bring back up to the top of the list. So, I don't know that it necessarily needs to, I don't disagree with you, Kendall, but I don't know that it needs to be a
Yeah, as long as it
special
doesn't,
project.
as long as it
itself.
doesn't go away and we keep it, I mean, it's pretty, well, when we started it, people were like, what's the parking lot? But it's really turning out to be a great place to park all these things that we have.
In a lot.
And to find projects to
Yeah.
bring in, so.
Do you want me to pull the parking lot up?
I mean, I didn't see anything on it that didn't have a specific place. It's great.
I think as long as, you know, to Meg's point, when people bring up an idea, it's, you know, the worst thing that can happen to it is it gets thrown into a parking lot field. And then it can come up the next year. And, you know, I think this year Ethan did resurrect things out of the parking lot. And I think that's a great way to, you know, see progress over time. And I also think that, you know, and I appreciate Greg and the staff for including this every time they presented the work plans on this project, so we could reference it easily. The one thing that I did see in the past year plan that I just want to make sure we don't need something on, the tree farm, is there anything that we need to be?
Yeah, so I think actually there is an item, if we scroll down a little bit further, but so in talking with the city manager, they're willing to, with us, prioritize that discussion in 28.
Okay.
So we're sort of kicking that out a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's nothing mandatory or pending right now that we should be?
No, we're going to be entering year 2 of our lease, a 4-year lease, so we're kind of in the middle.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. This is important. I don't want to rush this, but I would like to get to public comment. Not seeing any hands from fellow members, not seeing them in the room. We'll open the public comment. I know that you said, Greg, there's some hands online.
Stephanie Mack. Stephanie Mack is the first one.
Great. Stephanie Mack.
Howdy. Howdy.
Unmute.
Sorry. Hard to do on my phone. It's kind of tiny. Okay. I'm just listening to you guys talking through all these different talking points, and in light of our taxes just going up quite significantly, I'm just wondering how the town is taking into consideration making sure that all of these items on this list are in some sort of significant fiscal sense of reeling it in. It seems like a lot of the items on the agenda here and there bring in like reeling in the cost side of things. Doesn't seem like every item is under a big giant blanket of, hey, we've got to reel this in. I'm wondering if the town is really thinking about that. It's the taxes are significant, and when you have these tax dollars coming in, are you guys just going to be hand to mouth? You know, you get more money, you're just going to go spend it. Are you putting the 1% fee on the docket because that's going to help alleviate the burden for needing to increase our taxes? And I know at some level it's set by the state, but I'm just wondering, as a town budget, how you're bringing that in for residents. I'm just not seeing a lot of budgeting as far as action items saying, okay, we got to make sure that that doesn't, you know, increase past last year's allotment of funds. I want to make sure that it's, you know, maybe on a decrease of 10%. Where is the strong sense of fiscal concern in all of these action items, so that we don't end up just spending all of the additional tax money that comes in? Mhm.
each August, we come to the select board and we ask you to start thinking about your budget goals. That's for the fiscal year 28. This, of course, is for fiscal year 27. The budget is one of the foundational work documents that you have. So hopefully a lot of this stuff is going to fit within the money that we've already approved for fiscal year 27. I think if something is going to be, start to take us wildly away from what has been budgeted, staff will be coming back to you to refocus and reprioritize if we need to. When I look at these, I think a lot of them are either cost neutral or there is an eye, even if it's not explicit, there is an eye towards cost. The infrastructure design work for Upper Main Street, we've had a lot of talk around that, both budgetarily, voter input, and staff is going to have to be putting together cost projections about what's next and what's the right approach to that. AFSCME contract, that's always a balance between trying to pay people, good, desirable wages while also recognizing that we're paid by our residents and that we need to provide good services in a cost-effective manner, and what else can we do to make Essex an attractive place to work. Manager's contract is a little bit separate. Obviously, there's a budgetary component to that where we'll negotiate if you want to negotiate with me. The river access, we're talking about the Conservation Reserve Fund, using money that's already set aside for that. The transit offerings with GMT, it says right in there, talk about options, costs, figure out what's going to make sense. I don't need to go through every single one, but I think that's hopefully getting the sense across of there is a lot of budgetary financial components as we think about these things, as we present these things.
Thank you. Karen, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to offer, Stephanie had mentioned about folks would have gotten a letter recently naming your new assessed value as a result of the reappraisal process. I just want to make it clear that the town's budget that was adopted on town meeting day does not change with reappraisal. So there's no doubling of the operating budget or anything similar to that. The capital tax rate is fixed, but the operating budget tax rate will be adjusted accordingly based on the final grand list that gets filed next week. Just want to put that out there.
That's a good reminder. Thank you.
And then I have just one other question. What is the reason behind purchasing the land on number 12 on Saxon Hill? How would that help the town?
Andy.
Yeah. It's was it 90 acres up there? It's 90 acres of land that the school district owns. Their articles of agreement say that if they no longer use it for educational purposes, they have to sell it to the town for $1. The advantage it would give us is if we wanted to turn it in that area into a park. There's also been discussion from a number of residents asking if we should be charging fees for some of the trails that are used up there. And I think it would be cleaner for us to charge fees or to call it a park if we owned the parcel.
For a single dollar.
For a single day, it would cost $1 to own it, yeah.
And if I can just
Yes, Craig.
add to that, the town is currently leases that land. I think we're in probably year 17 or 18 of a 25-year lease. So the town leases it. We contract with a local bike group, Fellowship of the Wheel, to maintain it. But between the bike group and the town of Essex, we already maintain that land. So it's something that we already are heavily involved with anyways.
Yeah.
And has this been put up to a vote? Like, would that 90 acres, if allowed to be developed, would it reduce the tax implication for residents?
It's the way it's currently zoned. It could not. It's only a zone for open space and recreation right now. I don't think there's any.
Okay.
I've never heard of any designs to develop the 90-acre parcel.
Thank you, Stephanie. Anything further?
Thank you. Not right now. Thank you very much.
Great. Other hands?
Ken Signorello.
Ken, usually I see you in the room. Please state your name and go ahead.
This is, in fact, Ken Signorello. Can you hear me? Excellent. A couple things, or three things. So the select board did, in fact, ask the Economic Development Commission to do research and come with a recommendation about the local option tax. I just want to remind the board that it did do that work and submitted a memo. A fair amount of work was done, and you do have that memo. And I do believe it was presented, and I'm kind of surprised to hear continuing conversations about it. If there's something deficient or more questions, then please forward them to the commission, and I'm sure they'll look into it. Next item. Yes, it's true that most committees and commissions are not statutorily defined, but conservation commissions, oddly enough, are. Now, our Conservation and Trails Committee is not constituted under the state statute. However, when we were considering our mission statement update, we looked at that alternative, but instead we did submit over a year ago a revised mission statement, which has yet to be responded to. So I just want to point out that one of your items in your plan was to ask committees and commissions for updated mission statements. Well, you got one from the Conservation and Trails Committee, but we haven't heard back. That's it. Thanks.
Ken, you had said there was 3 things. That was only 2.
Well, I mentioned the commissions are that are statutorily defined, and that the Conservation and Trails Committee submitted. That it's 3. Thanks.
Thanks, Ken.
Pleasure.
Lorraine Zaloom.
Lorraine.
The unmute button takes a while. I don't know if you guys know what happens on our end, but it takes a little bit to get the unmute button to work, right? Sorry about that. Lorraine Zaloom, 74 Center Road. Just a couple of comments. I also was surprised to see the local options tax as well, given it's a regressive tax as opposed to a progressive tax, and that it had been explored and has been voted on a couple times. I know once while we were together as a town and a city before they separated, but also we looked at it after that, and it was pushed aside because of how we're located. And the other concern was that when we looked at Essex Junction too, a lot of the options tax are now coming from online sales. So in a way, it's a tax shift, a lot of it. So I was kind of hoping to see more for revenue as opposed to something like a local options tax, maybe granting opportunities that are missed, and also looking seriously at ways to help collaborate with others for trying to do something with their healthcare insurance, as that's one of the major cost drivers of both all municipal taxes, including the school. And that, when you talk about working with the state legislators or beyond, or maybe CCRPC, that maybe that's an opportunity in terms of a better focus and place to put our resources in terms of time, as opposed to a local options tax, as we've brought that up a number of times now. Sidewalk plowing, just a thought. Karen, thank you for saying that about the transportation plan, and that might be a way with the heat map to look at connections, because one of the things that we've noted over time in terms of the plowing is it a chicken or the egg? Are people walking in the street because they can't walk on the sidewalks? Are kids not walking to school because they're walking on the roads? I have seen dangerous situations where little kids are walking in the roads, and I find it frightening. And then also right in front of our house, we live right next to the Essex Discount Beverage and by the grocery store. And what's interesting is that we've seen, John and I have observed a market increase in people using the sidewalks to go to the grocery store, and people certainly biking along the way. We're seeing more cold weather biking too, which is also interesting. And even over this winter, there was a few times that people, including me, I couldn't even walk to the store safely. And I'm just wondering, in terms of proactively looking at where we're prioritizing that, certain things in terms of services, are those included? Or I'm not sure why we don't end up sometimes plowing something over another, but I would love, as a member of the public, to have access to those kind of insights or data. And I'm really curious about what Karen brought up in terms of the transportation plan and how that can close some of the gaps. I think that's just a great idea and could handle the chicken and the egg problem too. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Karen. Any further hands online? Seeing no further hands online, seeing no further hands in the room, I'll bring it back to the board. Andy?
What's our intent here? I guess, do we want to, in the past, I think we've asked Greg to take a look at this, come back to us and tell us if he's okay with the priorities, but I don't remember if that's, have we done that?
Throughout the process, I can't remember exactly where it's probably evolved over the years. I'm comfortable. I think we've spent enough time with this. I'm comfortable that this is a manageable workload.
Okay, so we don't need a comeback. Okay, good, okay.
You know, jumping in for just a comment, I would be fine with, if it's not pressing for timeline, seeing as we're missing a member tonight, waiting until the next meeting when hopefully we'll have a full board, to at least have them have their eyes on it. That said, I'm one of 4 people here tonight. If other people want to pass it, that is the will of the people.
So when you say next meeting, do you mean on the 29th or the 19th of July? Or whatever that,
It
16th?
depends how we define a special meeting. Obviously that's Dog Day in my mind. But if we feel there's room to, fit it in and not have a, midnight meeting,
2-hour meeting.
I'll leave it to the town manager to define what next meeting is. But that would be my suggestion. Again, I'm one voice.
I think it's fair to include Ethan.
I didn't hear what you said.
I just said, I think it's fair to include Ethan, at least have
Yeah,
a chance
yeah.
for him to review it. But
It's hard to predict what that middle meeting in July, how long the
Right.
agenda is going to be. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Because it's the only meeting in July. Right? Yeah.
I mean, could I offer a suggestion? We obviously have some cleanup to do to finalize. We could intend on putting it on the consent agenda at the next meeting, and then if Ethan would like to discuss or debate further, that could be his choice. You could pick where on the agenda might make the most sense.
No, that's a good idea.
compromise.
It's an idea.
My thought would be that, we've done the couple meetings worth of the bulk of work. I appreciate that today we've had time to really dive into this with our hands, and I like that approach, Karen. Not hearing anything from the board. Let's move on to the reading file. Board member comments.
So, sorry.
Yes.
There's the consider appointments. Just one question. Can I?
Please.
There was a comment at the beginning of the meeting that there was an additional person that wanted to interview for the library board.
Okay.
Do we want to allow that or just say they're too late?
They had planned to be here tonight, and then something came up. I can speak to that in executive session.
I think,
but it was a legitimate reason as to why they couldn't be here tonight.
So I guess
yeah.
I wanted to reason, yeah. So we could have the rest of the conversation in our later discussion, but I just wanted to acknowledge that there was that, because you were telling people as we went that we would make decisions then, and I wasn't sure that we wanted to wait on the library one.
No, I tried to say I give a vague timeline of within the next few days, staff will be in touch.
Okay.
I did not expect them to get answers tonight. I don't think I set a date. I know that we obviously will appoint these well before the first meeting in July 1st, and that's what I kind of see as the deadline.
Yep. Okay.
If I misspoke,
Yeah, I thought you said tomorrow at least once, that people would find out tomorrow.
If I did, I did not mean that. And for the record, people will find out once the staff the decisions have been made and staff has been notified.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate you keeping me honest. The next 3 items on the agenda, I believe are all executive session. So reading file, board member comments. Kendall.
I would just note the staff, great job on the water ordinance. I did have a specific comment. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, wait for me.
While you're looking for that,
Yeah.
I will just publicly acknowledge and appreciate the 2 resignations we had. One from the Cemetery Commission, Carriella Tabone. Thank you so much for your service, as well as former Housing Commission Chair Anna Brulette. I really appreciate your service to the community. Kendall.
Okay, yes, my only comment was in the dog proposed ordinance and in here, there's no mention to the level severity in it. And I would just suggest that that might be looked at, because there is a very specific level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that was not in the ordinance anywhere that I could see. That was it. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments from board members, I'll entertain some motions for executive session.
Oh, sorry, I did
Yes,
have
Andy.
one. The municipal elected officials forum unfortunately conflicts with our next meeting, so unless somebody just chooses not to go to the dog ordinance meeting, we won't be able to participate in that. Just wanted to. It's unfortunate that we have the conflict, but because I think it's a very valuable meeting. All right, enough. Sorry.
No, thank you. Andy.
I make the motion that the select board enter into executive session, I can't talk, executive session to discuss the proposed public official appointment in accordance with 1 VSA section 313A3 and to include the manager and the assistant, it says to include the assistant to the manager.
Sorry, deputy manager, please.
The manager and the deputy manager.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meg. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Andy.
I move that the select board make it the specific finding that general public knowledge of pending or probable civil litigation or prosecution to which the body is or may be a party would place the town at a substantial disadvantage.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Andy.
I move that the select board enter into executive session to discuss pending or probable civil litigation or prosecution to which the public body is or may be a party pursuant to 1 VSA 313A1E to include the town manager and deputy town manager.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Andy.
I move that the select board make the specific finding that general public knowledge of contracts would place the town at a substantial disadvantage.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Andy.
I move that the select board enter into executive session to discuss contracts pursuant to 1 VSA 313A1A to include the town manager and deputy town manager.
Thank you, Andy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Meg. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are now in executive session. We likely will be coming back. Greg, are you and Karen ready?
I'm all set.
Great. Welcome back. Essex Selectboard meeting. Glad to entertain a motion.
I move.
Meg.
Yeah, sorry. I move that the select board authorize the town manager to finalize and execute the settlement in the matter of Emma Quaranta versus the town of Essex, including payment by the town of $1,000 deductible.
Thank you, Meg. Is there a second? Second by Kendall. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you.
Right.
Meg,
So I move that the
before you start, I
Yeah.
just want to come to the attention of the board that there have been a few other applicants for the Conservation Trails Committee as well as the Housing Commission, and one of the people who was not able to come tonight due to matters out of their control for the Library Board of Trustees, we will be holding those decisions until our next meeting on June 29th. Yes, Meg.
Okay, so I make a motion that the select board appoint to the Economic Development Commission for a 3-year term Alex Silverson and Alistair Deacon, to the Energy Committee for a 3-year term Rod Williams and Natalie Braun, and to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term Joshua Knox, Georgia Levine, and Jonathan Shoemaker, and to the 1-year seat Eric Stewart.
Thank you, Meg. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Andy. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much. It's 10:45. I'm glad to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Kendall. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meg. Motion to adjourn are non-negotiable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. We are adjourned.